Love Tesla. Everything's computer.
Pause it for a second. Pause it for a second. Pause it for a second. Pause.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
Pause it for a second. Pause it for a second.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not, are you denying, Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat?
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because
Council.
it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
Is it
stated,
classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Dr. Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a signal messaging group.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you. Thank you. Did you participate in?
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
I love Tesla. I love Tesla. I love Tesla. Everything's computer. Everything's computer.
Thank you, President Trump.
Everything's computer.
Now I'm going to buy some mother F bleep guns.
Hello, humans. I'm live. I'm dark as shit. Holy. Let's adjust that a little bit. Hello, I am Dan from the internet. This is your power report for the 27th of March. As I look at my phone, very naturally, this is the 27th of March, 2025. I'm Dan from the internet. This is your power report. I'm joined by a wonderful crew. I'm bringing them on stage right now. Christina, Cosmopolitics. Bam, puts up with me even though he doesn't deserve to. And Sachi, the producer who frankly holds the entire show together, whether he's on screen or not. Damn it, boy. We're doing it out here. So how y'all doing? How y'all doing today?
Doing
Fine.
good. Doing good.
Told a friend today.
Sachi, what was that?
I said I told a friend today, you got to live to thrive. So that's where I'm at.
Heard y'all both. Love that. I'm gonna run through some quick headlines. Cenk removes Francesca Fiorentini from TYT. We're gonna be talking about that in a moment. Bam is gonna hate me for like an hour, but it's gonna be fine. Christy Noam tries to take out FEMA, even though her constituents directly benefit from FEMA. Dr. Oz potentially coming back. More on that later, perhaps. The economy sucks. We're gonna talk about that. Trump's deportations. Like, if you watching this show don't think that you're next, watch the rest of the show. We're gonna hit that. NPR, National Public Radio, the public broadcasting system, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Yeah, we're gonna run that. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about why that's important. Also, Jasmine Crockett. I want to hear Bam's take on Jasmine Crockett, honestly, because that's going to be very interesting as we go into it. Lots of free speech news, not lots of news on the California governor's race, but I want to start actually with Sachi. Other than the things that I have previewed, and other than the things that you have produced, and other than the things that I am very obviously mad about, I want to start with what you've got in your brain and what you want us to kick this show off of.
I think since we started out with the cold open of Tulsi getting grilled, we got to dive into this debacle of this whole Signal thing and just kind of the shit show that's been since then, since it all unfolded, the depressing hilarity of it all as well. But also keeping the discussion also about what's being overlooked, which is the actual deaths of civilians and children. So
yeah, like Bam, and I also want to let you jump in on here, but a lot of the social media conversation has been about, oh, can you believe this has been leaked? And not enough people have been talking about yo, we just launched a war on Yemen, completely illegally, and we started to fight for this. So, Bam, your take. Go ahead. Get off mute, boy.
Yeah, I mean, it was
noted that Dan is racist because I just called Bam boy.
We know you think you're white. Yeah, that was my kind of initial reaction. I didn't really care that much that they put the dude in the group chat. I'm like, that they're talking about something that already happened. They already bombed Yemen. And we talked about that on here. It was the worst bombing in Yemen since the Saudis were double tapping school buses. And the journalist from The Atlantic, and in my head, I keep calling him Jeff Goldblum, but I know it's Jeff Goldberg. And then I'm like, wait.
Racist!
Then I'm like, wait, is it Jeff?
Noted racist. Bam from the internet.
That's just because I like the movie The Fly a lot.
Same.
But I saw some commentary about him in particular. Like, he's a big Iran hawk, big time Zionist. So they're saying that him being in that group chat isn't like that crazy, I guess, because it's more than likely like some of the things that were happening in the group text chain were going to leak to him anyway, because he's a big Iran hawk and also was the architect of one of the most idiotic quote unquote connections that was made in geopolitical history when he tried to say that Saddam Hussein had something to do with Al Qaeda as a justification for the Iraq War in 2003. So, so this journalist is also trash. So,
let's be clear. Like, there's been a lot of, frankly, anti-Semitic and terrible attacks against this journalist, but let's not attack the journalist from The Atlantic, the editor-in-chief who wrote this, for their particular religious beliefs, which is very weird that Trump's people on the right wing love to talk about his religious beliefs. Let's talk about the politics. Let's talk about the fact that, like, didn't you used to be a soldier for the IDF?
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about that. Christina, jump in, and then Sasha.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed about this whole situation was the fact that he was hiding certain things. Like, you couldn't care less about the text, but it's obvious that there's some things that he's clearly hiding that makes the situation a lot worse, because it goes to show that he has his own agenda. But looking into his history, it's like, oh, it's this guy. Like we're already familiar with him. But then when we find out more about him, it's like, oh, everything's starting to make sense now about how he could have been added, what his agenda was, and, whether or not he thought what happened was cool, So I'm glad that more and more people are coming out and saying, this Jeffrey Goldberg is not the best, journalist to have this stuff revealed. I'm glad that he did not wait 4 years to write a book about it like other journalists claim to do.
Oh my God, like that I forget who he was, but there was one journalist during the Trump administration who would let me save this for the publisher. Let me save this for Penguin Books.
There might have been more than one, honestly.
Yeah, I know Bob Woodward was one, and I think maybe someone else was one, but mostly well-known was Bob Woodward.
Thank you, Bad Lefty, in the chat for chiming us out. Michael Wolf. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Dude, as a journalist, maybe you just talk about it in 4K Ultra HD instead of saving this for your book, but whatever. Sachi, run that.
Bernstein, I think, was the other reporter as well. With
Bernstein,
they were known for Watergate and all that stuff, and they sat on Trump for 4 years. And they're like, "Oh, we get millions of dollars on this book deal." Anyway, beside the point on that. The interesting thing is kind of when it comes to Goldberg, and since October 7th, the Atlantic has been kind of a steadfast stenographer for the IDF. That's one thing I've been noticing. In more indirect ways than not, perhaps, but they've been, it's been kind of a constant thing. But again, going back to, I agree with Bam. Like I said, I'm not, leaks happen all the time, and these war plans aren't really a secret when you think about it. They're happening out in the open. And kind of centering the fact that 13 civilians were killed, and this is technically a war crime, but there's more. Rashida Tlaib said it best on her tweet. There's more out heat for the text than there is for the bombing itself, and that seems to be this constant between Democrats and Republicans. It's always, oh, this is a national security thing. This is gonna destroy our safety. I'm like, and then what's her name? Pam Bondi was like, oh, the world is safer now because of this very successful mission. I'm like,
yeah,
it's an opportunity for both parties to be like, oh, these guys did this and jeopardized our national security. And it's another opportunity for Republicans to say, oh, well, look what Hillary Clinton did back in 2016. That's what's been kind of going on, this constant back and forth of tribal politics when at the end of the day,
I mean, it's freedom of the press.
Yeah.
You know? So I just don't understand the hoopla about the leaks. Like you said, leaks happen all the time. And it's like, you know, the world needs to know these things, obviously, but it's clear that this could happen again, knowing how moronic and incompetent the Trump administration is. So maybe we should just be prepared for like group chats to get leaked in the future about certain plans that may or may not have already happened or will happen. But it goes to show that they're not being that smart when it comes to, you know, destroying other people's lives in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's like the larger implications too, like which you know we talked about. I want to say last week, but like this bombing in Yemen was like a warning attack on Iran because Trump had sent a letter to Iran about negotiating a new nuclear deal. They rejected that because Trump ripped up the original nuclear deal, and is surrounded by Iran hawks also. But that bombing was a result of that. And I want to say, like, after that bombing, I think Trump was on Truth Social saying that basically if Iran doesn't stop supplying the Houthis with weapons or whatever, that, you know, basically like the next one's coming your way. So, you know, my biggest fear with this Trump administration has been a war on Iran. And I didn't necessarily think it would be this early. We see the rumblings of it, but, you know, I hope it doesn't end up happening.
Anti-war candidate. Remember, he was the anti-war guy.
Like
no new
Power
wars
Report,
started on Trump.
literally, you're right, Christina. Like Power Report started because Bam and I were like, I don't want to talk about politics with Bam until a country gets bombed. And then Iran happened and we started Power Reports. That's literally where that's the genesis of this continued harassment of the other three people on the screen on my behalf.
Yeah.
Another thing too is, sorry, Christina.
Oh no, what I'm saying that is, you know, things are happening at a faster pace now because the Trump team is more prepared now. I mean, last time they were like, "Oh, we keep Obama's staff, right?" And they're like, "No, you have to pick your own cabinet picks and your own staff. You don't keep ours. That's not how it works." But because of like Project 2025, they had a blueprint and they were prepared this time. So that's why a lot of these things are happening a lot faster than we thought. So war, maybe getting rid of Social Security or people not getting their checks. Free speech is gone. Remember, free speech was back. No, freedom of press is being trampled on too. So it's just we've only been almost 4 months into his administration, and it feels like we've been here for 4 years already. He needs to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think I will say with this is another thing, not to, you know, relitigate the election, but kind of recognizing that Trump had 4 years to amass this, and I think this plan is going so fast and so quickly now because he's had the time to mull it over and plan it without all these people, and it's going into hyper overdrive. Now he really is putting the foot on the gas because
somebody got to do it.
Yeah,
also, I think honestly too, I mean, he's getting enabled, especially by the GOP, because they recognize the guy's going to be, 80 years old in a couple of years, or he's already 80? He's 79, 78?
It's close, yeah.
Yeah, so to be honest, he could croak soon, and they're factoring that in.
Yeah. He said something like that the other day. He said something like, "If I'm around," or something like that. I was like, whoa. You never hear him talk like that, you know, about his, like, immortality. I was like, what's going on there, buddy?
Yeah, like it reminds me of like back, I think was it the 2014 midterms where Republicans did like an autopsy about why they lost, and they're like, no, we don't need to be more moderate. They were looking for something to help win. And then Trump came along and they're like, that's what we need. That's who we need to be now. And it's only gotten worse and worse because it's clear the Democrats don't have much of a message and they're not fighting or whatever. But, you know, Republicans, they know how to fight, unfortunately, and they will bend over backwards for Trump. There's a few that will, like Mitch McConnell, who will just let him do whatever he wants to do, but still try to like, oh, I disagree with this, blah, 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 and stare into the camera and then freeze. But then you have people like, you know, Paul Ryan, who like left, who was supposed to be a future Republican, like, you know, big name, whatever. And hello, Dan. And so it's like, you know, you're either with Trump or not. And sometimes there's people that are fence sitting. I mean, look at Nancy Mace. She was like a moderate pro-LGBTQ, you know, basically like fiscally conservative, social liberal. But now she's like saying the T slur all the time. And it's like very off-putting and weird. And she could run for governor and she probably could win.
Dan's trying to like really just accost us with his cheekbone.
Yeah. Look at these cheekbones.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to focus my camera. Anyways, I'm not talking. Bam, Christina, keep cooking, please.
Yeah. But yeah, the Nancy Mace situation is out of it really goes to show that, you know, these Republicans need Trump. They want to be molded in his image or try to impress him. I mean, when John McCain died, Lindsey Graham was like, I need a new daddy. Because Lindsey Graham grew up without parents. Like he basically raised his siblings himself, for what I remember his biography said. And so he found it in Trump. And I'm like, dude, John McCain's like rolling in his grave wherever he is with his daughter crying over it 24/7.
Dude, like, as a son of Japanese immigrants to the United States, my family is spinning in their grave with what is going on right now. Like literally, I sent this to Francesca, more on that later. But I sent this to her as like, my family is spinning in their graves so hard, it's a renewable resource. Like the vibrations are so good. Like we can make renewable energy off of this. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The last thing I'll say about this is, again, we talk about how irony of all these Trump people appointees saying, oh, these are all DEI hires, when you got the Weekend Fox and Friends anchor literally running the Department of Defense right now. And not that I'm going to, you know.
Drunker than me!
I mean, the governor of Texas is a DEI governor. He's got to learn how to walk. If you want to get rid of DEI, he's got to learn how to walk. Sorry, Greg Abbott, you're just going to have to, because that also falls under the Disability Rights Act too, like for those who are disabled. And plus, that motherfucker made sure that he made sure that no other people could sue if they get hurt and disabled in accidents.
More on that later. But Sachi, what are you gonna say? We cut off your point. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, we, along with the danger of it, you get the clown car being unloaded right now. And Pete Hegseth's response was, I think he blamed Russiagate for this for some random reason. You brought it back to Russiagate again. But again, this was just another example of what you get with Trump having his most direct enablers and closest enablers showcasing that they are not capable of doing even the most basic things. And as a result of it, people here, unfortunately, are dying, and people across the world are dying now at more accelerated rates. So yeah, that's my last take on this whole signal thing, which actually, again, I don't really give a shit about the texts.
I mean, I'll say one more thing about P. Hegseth. He's the same guy who flipped a skateboard on his balls live on Fox News. So,
yo, Pete Hegseth on Fox News is so funny. Like,
He I mean, that was a real video. I was like,
he trips on his dick so much. Remember the video where he literally almost killed a Fox News extra?
Yes.
I think it was like, maybe he was like running a bow or like, throwing an axe or something, like one of those like white people things. Like, he threw an axe and it's like, yo, you almost just killed somebody. Actually, like, that's so crazy.
Yeah. And he has a Nazi tattoo, so he fits right in.
Oh yeah, like Bam and I have talked about this separately. Common Dreams reports chilling and unprecedented Trump memo threatens law firms during this current administration. And I think that like the fact that God, what should I say about this? I'll play it super safe for the sake of those involved. The idea that law firms who protect the law are being attacked in this moment is kind of scary, frankly. It's something I worry about because, Christina, friend of the show, but I'm about to go off really quickly. White people, like, they love the law. They love how lawfare warfare works, right? And the fact that, I'm not surprised, frankly, because I know how these people work, but the Ben Shapiros, all these other people who are like, okay, the law is the law. It means something. They were willing to use that during the Biden administration doing broke dick nothing. And they're gonna be like, oh, the law? What's the law? I don't know. It's a weird thing, bro. I don't know what that is.
Schoolhouse Rock
like,
that shit.
yeah, like they're gonna act very ignorant with the law when it comes to Trump. And that's the part where I'm like, okay, let's analyze this. Let's analyze this a little bit. I know I'm saying the wrong thing, but yeah, like there's something here with the fact that like these people are, and, like this is a strategy. It's like, let's see how far we can push the law and let's push it further so that we don't get attacked for doing our crazy illegal things.
Yeah, it's white people don't think the rules apply to them now that Trump's in office. Plain and simple. It's clear considering what's been going on with it, which we'll talk about the freedom of speech, the green cards, the people that are getting deported, left and right, people who are not criminals, people who have the right to their First Amendment rights. But it's getting very scary out there that again, economy's legal, freedom of speech is back, but not quite so for anyone who dares criticize Trump. And it's disgusting.
Yeah. And this ties into... Oh, sorry, Dan, what were you going to say?
Go ahead.
I was going to say the crux of this, kind of reading through this, it ties into those deportations, especially the targeting of, I think, of pro-Palestinian protesters.
Yep.
It says here, the memo says, the immigration system is likewise replete with examples of unscrupulous behavior by attorneys and law firms. For instance, the immigration bar and powerful big law pro bono practices frequently coach clients to conceal their past or lie about their circumstances when asserting their asylum claims. It seems this is tying into especially targeting migrants and trying to even find more loopholes to accelerate his deportation plan. At the end of the day, it comes down again to his war on immigrants.
Yeah. And I shared something. I made a tweet that I responded to Ron Flipkowski, whatever his name is, on
Ron Flipkowski, damn it. Damn it, boy.
I tweeted something with Christina being in front of like all those immigrants in the cell. And I'm like, this is exactly what Nazis did during World War II in front of Jewish people in the Holocaust. And boy, did the Nazis come out like crazy. But I got a lot of engagement. So thanks.
Yeah, it's very interesting how like the people who defend
how do we know they're gang members? Just because they got tattoos and shaved heads doesn't mean they're gang members. Like, my God. Look at Pete Hegseth, for God's sakes.
Yo, like I have a like a crash out compilation of Pete Hegseth drinking himself to death in like a barrel where his shirt is, friend of the show, Dan from the internet. I'm not gonna, he who casts sin cast the first stone, whatever, but like his shirt was so wet that his shirt was bleeding onto his Nazi tattoo on his chest. All right. That's our Secretary of State. The guy with the Nazi tattoo on his chest who is too drunk to hide it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say about these law firms too. One thing about lawyers, a lot of them, they're really arrogant. So I think a lot of them there's gonna be at least some of them that don't take this threat line down, and they're gonna say, "Bring it on." At least I hope so, because there's a lot of lawyers out there, and they some of them don't play around. Like they're and if it's lawyers that are representing doing things for immigrants and things like that, like there's going to be some of them that are down for the fight, excited for the fight, and willing to go to jail or whatever. They're going to like that was just going to make me look cooler at the end of the day if I'm standing up for people and you're trying to like come for me in whatever way for standing up for people. So I don't know. Trump does like to threaten, but a lot of his threats are hollow when they're like pointed.
It's true.
Yeah.
And to kind of tie into that, man, we were saying about intentions with some of these lawyers, there will be a lot of dick swinging going around in this, but also you talk about the lawyers who care about their bag and their money, right? And they're like, if he's going to mess with my clientele, my money, it's going to be, I'm going to go after him. So I do agree. Hopefully that there will be this will show some fight back from the law community. But yeah, Christina, what were we going to say?
Yeah, as someone who is doing a lawsuit herself, it's interesting to see how all those things play out, because I mean, some of them, some of the lawyers, they're like, yeah, well, if we lose, you'll still have to, pay. But if you don't, of course, you give them like a 4% of your fee or whatever. And it's like, oh God, because I'm suing the perp who filmed me without my consent. That was dogs in for. So there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on into like that, like litigations and like, like little like financial things and like property things. So it's interesting to see lawyers actually like stand up for people who are victims. I mean, immigrants are victims right now. They're no one's safe. No one's safe. I mean, I've been hearing some cases of Trump losing stuff in court, but we don't get that much news about that, because the news is just constantly about what Trump's doing, all the bad shit he's doing, how he's enraging all of us with all the shit he's doing. So like I have to follow like people on TikTok or like other people who are like, did you hear Trump lost a case today? And I'm like, what case? What happened? Like, I didn't know.
Yeah, that is so. Sorry, I'm trying to produce and also host. It's hard looking at like no. God, you and I have talked off air about that particular situation, and boy, do I have a lot of takes about it. But I want to indulge the rest of my host before I frankly go hard in the paint for like at least an hour straight. In a way that, as you can tell by Christina's face, is not going to be pretty for the rest of my co-hosts. But
I'm with you there. If we're talking about Francesca and TYT next,
more on that later. But I wanted to kind of speak to some of the global news we have, and so especially this week, because Jesus Christ, it's so bad. We had at least, not just, but at least 2 journalists killed in the British Mandate of Palestine. Like, we've got at least 2 journalists killed under the Israeli occupation. One person that is being there's Mohammed Mansour, who was killed very recently, but also Hassam Shabbat, who used to be a contributor for Drop Site News, and a number of other different occupations.
And don't forget the Oscar winner for No Other Land was finally returned after being kidnapped and beaten by Israelis, by the IDF.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll get to that in a moment, but like, I think to address what we're talking about, what both Christine and I are talking about, is that the as even Al Jazeera kind of like politely notes, the quote unquote Israel-Palestine conflict, the thing I'm going to highlight here, is still going on. And mind you, one side, like one side has much more firepower than the other, and they have, put journalists on not the hit list but the shit list. They've been like, okay, these people are Hamas. These people who are covering our war crimes, frankly, are Hamas, and they need to be killed. And a lot of so many American and British journalists, especially, who are like, gung ho about defending Ukraine, which is not a bad opinion, but also like, it's interesting that you would like understand the dynamic between Russia and Ukraine, and also selectively not understand the dynamic between Israel and Palestine. Like, that's a fun point. But either way, like, rest in power, Mohammed Mansour, rest in power, Hassam Shabbat. Like, I feel some type of way that also is like not popular to feel about, like, I stand 10 toes down on journalists, right? Like, journalists are the people who are telling you history before it happens, before it's made. And journalists are completely imperfect. Don't get me wrong. Believe me. More on that later. Journalists are not, perfect beings. But the idea that people risking their lives routinely are, working for some type of like manufactured enemy is shocking to me. I'll just say it to first off and just present that, but also it should be shocking to everyone watching this show. It should be shocking to everyone presenting, being a part of, modding, chatting, like whatever. Like, this is crazy, because if they can, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, hopefully, if we have time, if I don't rant too crazy, but like, if they're going to kill journalists, and the United States government is going to kill journalists, and the United States government is going to go after people who are in this country legally, but they're not, quote unquote naturalized citizens, like, they're on green cards or they're on whatever, like, they're gonna attack you, Whitey. Like, they're gonna attack every single person watching this show who is an American citizen who thinks they're safe because they got, split out of their mama's woo-woo in America. All right? Like, you're not safe. This is, if they can target people for using their freedom of speech who don't happen to be American citizens, you're next. You're done. Like, that poem, like, first they came for the whoop-de-whoop, and then they came for the so-and-so. Like, like, that is now. I said in PowerPort, like, in 2024, right? Like, the theme of the show is the fascism is already here. And yes, like, there are extreme examples, and I want to bring them up more to, like, draw a contrast between the Democrats and Republicans about, like, how poorly the Democrats have met this moment, and also how the Democrats have, like, paved the runway for Republicans to do all of this heinous, inhumane shit. All right, but let's be clear, like, if you think like, oh, okay, I didn't like Trump, but he's doing what he said he'd do. He's getting rid of the immigrants and whatever. Like, you're next, bro. You're next. You're done. You're out. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fascism. PowerPoint 2024 was the fascism is already here. PowerPoint 2025. This is not the official saying, but like the
You're
fascism
next.
is coming for your ass. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're next, dude. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Christina, please go ahead. I am
So,
ranted too.
so I know quite a few relatives who voted for Trump because, of course. And I have a cousin whose child is trans. Now, my grandparents are full-blooded Trump supporters who are well aware of his positions. However, once they live in my cousin and her kid live in Maine. Once Trump started talking about transgender stuff after he got elected, my aunt and uncle were like, "Oh my god, we didn't think he was going to do this to transgender." It's like, shut the fuck up. Yes, you knew he was going to attack transgender people. That includes your grandchild. Like, it's ridiculous when all these Republicans who know Trump was always talking about his agenda, what he was going to do, what he had in mind, and then they play dumb when it impacts them because they don't think it's going to impact them or someone they love. It's like the eating, the lepers eating your face party type of situation. It drives me nuts when Trump supporters suffer, like husbands whose wives get deported, or someone might get fired, or like a program that's considered DEI gets abolished for special needs kids in school. Like, yeah, you guys don't understand that there's a wide cast out there. Like, you don't think DEI is not hiring someone because they're black. DEI is part of making sure that people are accommodated when they get their jobs, that everyone feels welcome, that everyone's included. That's the point. That's why you see a lot of programs, individual programs for kids that might need help with learning. That's why you see, making sure that Greg Abbott could get around doing his job because he can't walk. And so when Republicans are like, "I did not think this was going to happen to me," stop, just stop. You voted for him twice, and you would vote for him again if he could run a third time. Like, yeah. And then that's all I have to say. Like, it drives my mind how stupid Republicans become because they act like they did not see any of this coming. Because they think if they go after other people, then it's fine. Like, yes, go after the immigrants, go after the this, go after the that. But once they come for you, don't play dumb. Don't play dumb. Just don't.
I kind of want to go back to what Den was talking about in Gaza. Israel sadly has been targeting journalists. They target journalists every time there's a war in Gaza. Like,
yeah.
They can't wait to get some sniper out and see somebody with like journalist on their vest and just shoot them in the neck or something. But yeah, what we've seen recently in Gaza as well is, like, obviously there was, the ceasefire talks and Hamas was releasing hostages and Israel was releasing prisoners. And then, and Trump was taking credit. And then, that process slowed down. Israel was ramping up its attacks in the West Bank. And then there was an impasse. Most of the civilians of Gaza went back to what was left of their homes in these cities. And then Israel started bombing again. I want to say it was like the first day they started like their air campaign, killed over 400 people in like one day.
Yeah.
And
like over 100 children too, right?
Right. And then I want to say either like yesterday or the day before yesterday, we saw, I want to say in Beit Lahia in Gaza, in northern Gaza, I want to say, the biggest anti-Hamas protests so far during this campaign. There were some that happened, some months back, and I'm pretty sure I talked about them on here, but these ones were like thousands of people came out to protest against Hamas and also against the war and the crimes that Israel is committing.
In Palestine, right?
Yeah, it was in Gaza. Yeah. So, yeah, and it's not the first time. Like I said, like there's been other anti-Hamas protests. the like Grand Mufti of Gaza condemned October 7th attacks. Hopefully he's still alive. So yeah, we're seeing like a lot of frustration amongst the civilian population for both sides. Like, I think they want to be able to live their lives, and there's a lot of people that are like tired of dying. And the Hamas fighters just go hide in the tunnel. Like,
Yeah.
When you hear about 400 people dying in Gaza, that's like no Hamas fighters. That's just civilians who don't have nothing to do with anything because Israel targets civilians.
Yeah, and the anti-Hamas protests that are done by people in Gaza, like people who Israelis and the U.S. government and idiots on Twitter, all of they're pro-Hamas, that all Palestinians are Hamas. That's not true. That is not true. If there's a demographic who probably hates Hamas the most, it's the people who do live in Gaza.
Maybe. I'm gonna guess this in Tel Aviv, though.
I will say, like, I want to let Sachi cook, but there was some footage of a protest about, and this might be, Bad Hasbara, shout out to our boys, but I saw a protest just today of people who are like in the British mandated Palestine being like, fuck Hamas. Like, they were yelling and screaming against that regime, and they were like, yes, they're the only people fighting for our resistance, because God knows that the other party, the Palestinian Liberation, whatever, like, they're not doing that. But yeah, they want to be fought for, and they know Hamas is doing it. And again, like, there's a stereotype that, like, oh, every Palestinian is Hamas. Like, I'm not going to give any fuel to that. Like, right. But like, if you're going to shoot and kill people,
who you got defending you?
Yeah. Like, yeah, like, there's going to be some other people who are going to run that check back. All right. And so I think about that quite a lot. And I also think about how, how are the Palestinians kind of reconciling with this idea that a lot of people are like, oh, Israel doesn't exist, like Palestine doesn't exist, like this two-party system doesn't work, like, like, how do we do this? Sachi, cook, please.
I just wanted to kind of tie back to Bam, where you were talking about how there's people in both Israel and Palestine that are just sick of this shit. And the government, especially of Israel, and you've been one of the most consistent, calling out of Netanyahu and his regime, which I think needs to be highlighted, because shout out to the people in Israel who are actually protesting this and actually want not only for these hostages to come home, but actually just for this genocide to end. It's just simply comes down to it, like we said, it comes down to the real victims are the people of this. And it's been just this. Another thing I also want to talk to, by the way, was it just came back to me, was Dan, you were talking about this kind of media coverage, kind of in Western media, between Ukraine and Russia, what's happening with them, and Israel and Gaza. And I think it's just another example of, well, these days you look around 24-hour news cycle, Gaza does not even make it the news at all, right? And there's just this continual, I feel, colorism when it comes to advocacy of oppressed people or people that are in wartime situations. And we're seeing it play out again and again and again. And unfortunately, that's happening here. I'm rambling right now, but at the end of the day, that's those are where my thoughts are at. And also, last thing I'll say too, with this journalist, Dan, Bam, you were talking about how journalists have been, even before October 7th, journalists have been targets of the IDF. I remember there was a Palestinian American journalist that was killed in 2022. Biden administration didn't really speak up about that, by the way. They didn't really say much about it at all. And her funeral was literally attacked by IDF soldiers and police. So it's just a continual example of how journalists have been just constantly targeted. And the ironic thing is that Fox News of all networks was like, yeah, these 2 journalists were killed by the IDF, just for everybody to get that out there in the clear. And had to take Fox News to actually put a spotlight on it, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So.
The crazy thing too, Netanyahu is over here talking about there could be a civil war in Israel. Netan is saying that because he was like, I don't know if he did or he was trying to fire the head of the Shin Bet, which is like their FBI. I think a court.
I mean, more their CIA. They're like that.
No,
I mean,
they're,
you're right.
the CIA
being pedantic, Bam. Continue.
Yeah, the CIA is Mossad, if I'm not mistaken, and then
You're correct. You're 100% correct. Mossad is the CIA. Yeah.
And so, but I think an Israeli court, put a stop to that. But there was a lot of people protesting about that within Israel, and I don't really think they're protesting like on behalf of the freaking head of their equivalent of the FBI. I think they're really protesting how, like, the level of kind of like criminality they're seeing from Netanyahu within their own domestic politics. And he's really just, there is like a pretty distinct parallel between Israeli domestic politics and American domestic politics. Like, you see Trump really plays to like the far right in this country, and he did whatever he did or said made like the KKK and like neo-Nazis love him. Netanyahu within Israel plays to that same crowd, and he's doing whatever he can to like activate that base. I don't know how long it's going to work for him, because I do feel like when you're dealing with the far right, they eat each other fast. They will turn on you in an instant. So, but a lot of other countries in that region have seen civil wars. Israel, it's your turn.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh man. That's a lot to go there. I think I'm gonna, notably, I'm not speaking a lot, but I want to get some comments in. But
Dan, we're waiting for the crash out. That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
we're waiting for you to get it in.
No, that's not good. We should not be enabling him.
You know what? You know what? Christina and Bam are enabling my worst instincts. I know Sachi especially would like to leave sooner than later, but
I'm good. I want to see this. I want to witness.
Oh wow.
Before that, just to edge y'all a little bit, I want to talk about not the Young Turks, but the Young Turkey. All right? Turkey. Damn it, boy. All right. So, can we talk about the fact that, like, in my vein of the fascism is already here in Turkey? So first of all, this is one of the most insane things I've found out about Turkish politics recently, but you need a college degree to be president. Which, first of all, like, I don't.
Good, nice.
I mean, like, I don't know. I'm two ways about it. Like, I want people to be educated, but I also don't want universities to be the gatekeepers for, education and politics. Like, like, I am literally of two ways about it. That being said, Hassan Piker's boy, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. No, I'm just fucking with him. Like, he knows. Like, both Hassan and I have had vicious conversations about this, but like, both Hassan and I hate Recep Tayyip Erdogan. All right, like we hate this man.
Yeah, so does my friend Vasora, who also streams. She's like of Turkish descent from New Jersey, so we talk a lot about stuff like that, and she fucking hates him too. I think like most Turks probably would that are here.
What's her Twitch? Just repeat that again.
Vasora Official. Visora Official.
Run that, folks. Check out that. But yeah, like every time I listen to this story, I'm like, wait, you have to be educated and like a college graduate to like run the country here, and like that's a rule. Wait, like they rescinded his degree because they hated him. Like I'm just like, yo, like
they did that.
Yeah, this is a very I'm watching this. This is very we're talking about non-democracy in America, and of course that exists.
Protests are happening everywhere, including Turkey now.
Yeah, like let's get on brass tacks about what is happening in Turkey and what is happening in all these other places, frankly.
Yeah.
No, it's funny that you brought that up, Dan, because I could really go off about why Turkey like mandates college education, but that would.
Oh no, like that is Bam's hidden episode 2 history of Islam. But no, like I will just say one sentence, and Bam knows it's probably gonna be 3 sentences, even though I promise. But Turkey in its current state is founded as a secular nation. Like it's the idea. I'm not saying it's practice, but the idea is that like Turkey is a secular state. It is not ruled by Christianity or Islam. Like remember, the capital, Istanbul, used to be Constantinople after the Emperor Constantine. Yep. Noted Christian Constantine. And there's a lot of different instances of that state and that country. Like, Turkey. Turkey is an interesting sort of like place, but like what you're saying, Bam, like the idea that Erdogan, like I'm gonna let you cook. Just go ahead.
Okay. I won't get into the whole like college education thing, but it does have to do with Islam though. But yeah, it's really interesting what happened in these past couple weeks with Erdogan having his biggest political competition imprisoned, Akram Imamoglu. I struggle with Turkish, but
noted racist, Bam from the internet.
But the funny thing about it.
At least you're. I'm sorry. I promise I will let you finish. But at least Bam is not saying Erdogan,
right?
Because I've heard some leftists pronounce it Erdogan, and I'm like, we're done. You clearly don't pay attention to Turkey if you're pronouncing it Erdogan.
How many of them are white?
And the dude's been around for a minute, dude. But
Erdogan. Erdogan! That's crazy, dude. Like, that's crazy. Okay.
Might as well say Armageddon instead, you know?
But the crazy thing about his being in prison now is that the elections aren't until 2028. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, Erdogan has been eroding democracy in Turkey for a very long time. The media has been getting less and less independent. The judiciary is getting less and less independent. Like that's a fact in Turkey. What's been happening though, like his party was, and I guess still is, very popular, but like their party's candidates for like mayoral positions in the big cities have been losing consistently for the past, some odd years. And this person, Imamoglu, was the mayor of Istanbul, which Erdogan used to be. It's like, I guess you used to be able to say like this is like a pipeline into presidency, but like, you know, Erdogan's been there for so damn long. He was the prime minister, now he's the president, changed the constitution, all kinds of shit. But yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like these are the biggest and like most consistent protests against Erdogan in like that have happened. There's been over 1,500 people arrested so far. They're still going. And kind of like how I said about what's going on in Israel, like I don't really think these people are all necessarily protesting for him. I think they're really protesting because they want to get back to the democracy, unstable democracy that they've had in Turkey, but a semblance of democracy that they've had. They want to get back to that and not go full Russia, and that's where Erdogan is kind of heading. Like he looks like he's going full Putin, and I feel like Turkey has enough of a, they used to have a lot of coups, like the 90s and stuff. Like somebody gets elected, the military get them the hell out of there. Their democracy is very imperfect historically, but they do have a culture of democracy in Turkey. And I think that people want to get back to that.
Okay. Yeah, Sachi, run that.
There you have it. On a lighter note out of this, just wanted to say this is a complete side story, but it has to be mentioned. There's a viral video going around of a guy in a full-on Pikachu outfit protesting. There's a. It's giant.
Did you?
No, I did. I just found it. I need to put it in there, but there's a photo.
No. I've seen it. I've seen this exact thing, so I know what you're talking about. Christina, do you know?
I mean, the only thing I know is the guy who dressed up as Wile E. Coyote and protested outside of Warner Bros. To get the Coyote versus Acme movie out. And look, Ketchup, the production company, Ketchup now owns it. So I guess they did not delete the movie. And I'm excited about that. But I didn't know about a Pikachu situation.
Yo, shout out to Ketchup for like single-handedly saving the animation industry right now.
Yes.
But
at least Disney knows their mascots.
I do want to cut to what Sachi was saying because like I've seen this. It's so hilarious. Please continue your point.
No, that's all. It's
surprise Pikachu protester.
It shows you that like I think this person in this Pikachu outfit knew what they were doing, getting this moment to go viral and get attention on it. And it shows you the links that people are going to go to in order to get their voices heard, at least outside of what's happening. And as much as humorous as it looks, it's at the very end of the day, it's going to get the message out there.
I remember in the Freddie Gray protests in Baltimore, there was a Michael Jackson impersonator out there every day. It was great. Oh my God, this is great.
Oh,
we're watching this on screen right now. You see a lot of people running, and you see one of these people in a Pikachu outfit in like bright ass yellow, just like running here, like harassing the cops, just like
I love when people get creative at protests. I mean, that's honestly, if I could cosplay at a protest, hell yeah, I would. If a bunch of witches got together, Wiccans and witches, I'd be like, you know what, fuck, I'm dressed up as like Rio or Death or Wanda or Agatha. I'm like, let's go.
I think that's
thank you. Thank you for making the show better because it's Women's History Month, and this is this is the first time this entire month I've had a woman on the show, which is really sexist of me. But
exactly, what was wrong with you? You should have had just all women guests this month. Like, what? No offense to, I mean, well, Bam is an honorary woman, so
he's going to be interrupting them the whole time.
My favorite thing to do is to ask the men on the show during Women's History Month. Sachi, Bam, the question is to you. When is please tell the audience, when's the last time you gave a woman money?
Sachi, I'll let you go. I have the same answer every time. Sachi, I'll let you go first because I have the same answer every time.
I think it
Sashi,
was
when? Yeah.
2 days ago.
Canceled.
2 days and not today. Canceled. You're out. You're done.
Well, at least we're closing Women's History Month with the perfect female guest. You know, just saying, not the
This is
drag
true.
or anything.
I agree with that. Also, Christina, I was going to say you should do that at protests. I think it's important to bring like diversity in the protest crowds in every kind of way, and I also think it's important to bring some levity. Also, I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, creative to do. I mean, I have my pro cosplay cart full. It's total up to $700 with what I want to get. So it's like, sugar daddies, hurry up, pay me.
Damn.
Please contribute to Syndicate 23 so that I can become Christina's sugar daddy. Please.
There you go. Or a cosplay partner. There we go.
You know, we out here. No, yeah, there's a lot going on here. Do we want to?
Let's go, Dan. Let's just go.
Let's do it. It's a perfect segue, actually, if you think about it. It's a perfect segue.
The bottle's getting empty. Let's just get.
You know what? Let's. Hi, I'm Dan. From the internet, I exist. I'm a person. There's my mouse. That's how it goes. I don't want to do this, Bam. Bam thinks I want to do this, but I don't want to do this. It's okay.
I don't have anything to do with it. I don't have an opinion. I'm waiting for.
You want me to go?
Because Christina will do it too.
Yeah. Want me to do it?
Christina, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so for those who don't know, a certain someone was fired from TYT recently.
Francesca Fiorentini. And sorry to interrupt, but like I just gotta say, like, this is gonna appear on Bam is laughing, and Christina, I'm sorry, because you and Bam are trauma partners now. And
yes, we are.
Dan interrupts my favorite co-host. But no, like, I just gotta say, like, this is going to appear on YouTube, on Twitch, and a lot of different places on the Dan from the Internet channel. And one sentence. Christina, you can cook right now, honestly. But my final sentence is that Dan from the Internet does not exist without Francesca Fiorentini, right? Like, you can look at my past videos. I used to be a Facebook head. Like, that is where I got my most viral views. Like, I modeled myself out of Francesca Fiorentini. So I'm ride or die with this bitch, all right? And I will say that not disrespectfully, but because she has a show on YouTube called The Bitchuation Room that she named herself. I didn't call her the bitch, like she did herself. And you can follow her at youtube.com/FrannyFio, FrannyFio, Franifao, sorry.
Or Franny Fo.
Franny Fio. No, it's Fio.
Oh, it is Fio. Okay.
Yeah. It's FIO in the middle. So FRANFIO. Anyways, I used to work at TYT. Francesca used to work at TYT.
She was a contractor though. She was not a full, like a lot of people are like, you badmouth your boss, you deserve it. I'm like, bitch, he was never her boss.
Yeah. He was never her boss. Yeah. So, and you know, that's different because I was not a contractor. I fully was an employee at TYT at the point. Yeah. So let me speak for 10 more sentences. No, I'm just kidding. Christina, please cook here.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Francesca, longtime contributor to TYT, who we all know and love, finally got booted from TYT as a whole. Normally, she would appear on the Damage Report with John Adarola. Usually, it would be Fantastic Fridays.
I mean, like, you know. Also, there was Fantastic Mondays. Yeah. Let me just run this real quick. I me and I'm gonna protect the innocent here, but I was one of the founding producers of the Damage Report. Me and I'm gonna protect the innocent and John Idarola were the people who created the Damage Report. Like, and let me say, like, you know, there's a lot of TYT stuff. I want to let you finish. I'm gonna let you right now, but like, I'm not sure if one of, because I hate being very, like, you know, finality, like superlative, but like, let me do it. One of my proudest moments at TYT was being able to give John Idarola a daily show. Like, that's one of my proudest moments. Like, we created a banger of a show to complement or, you know, supplement or, you know, supersede perhaps TYT. And it's literally one of the proudest things I did. I have nothing but love for the producers of that show, both the founding producers and everything that all of them have gone on to do. The editors, the technical staff, the technical directors, the audio people, the production team. Like, I love all of those people so much. They ran that shit so hard. And so, yeah, Christina, please continue before I start to get emotional.
Yeah. So one last thing, though, about the Damage Report is that one thing that made the Damage Report really popular and special was the dynamic between John and Francesca as well. So a lot of people don't realize this, but despite TYT's YouTube channel not getting so many views, it's actually Rashad Ritchie's channel and the Damage Report YouTube channel that actually does get most of the views from the network as a whole. It really does. They get like hundreds of thousands, while TYT gets like 5K, 20K, 70K, whatever. It's and that's why what's funny, one little thing, is that TYT will upload some of their clips into those YouTube channels to try to see if they could get views and revenue. Never works out. But it is a sad day. I've known Francesca since she first appeared on TYT. She was still doing AJ Plus. That's how she met featured baby daddy and hubby Matt Lieb, which their love story is adorable. Francesca always stood on her ground. Like, she always stood for what was right. And as someone who watched TYT go from being, you know, great progressive network to whatever the hell it is now, befriending, you know, Nazi sympathizers and seeing all these dead enders still defend them. It's really sad that a lot of people are calling Francesca entitled, spoiled brat, all these horrible things. But I'm like, but she's right, though. It's not smart to try to befriend people who are Nazi sympathizers. It's not fun to go on Glenn Beck's show or hang out with Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro or, you know, Dr. Phil, for instance. Like, all the people that they put on the show now are just right-wingers. And the strategy is not helpful, in my opinion. And Francesca even said that, you know, the strategy might come back to bite TYT in the ass, which, considering they're not doing too well, definitely. But when Francesca had Cenk on for their first, like, debate about, like, let's hash out our differences and see if we can find common ground, Francesca even told Cenk, like, I'm worried about my position at TYT. I might get, you guys might kick me out. And yeah, I think I remember Cenk was like, no, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But he had to do it on air like a coward. Like, he couldn't just say it like email her or anything like that. Like, it's crazy. And Francesca even told about how she was allowed to be given like a full like contract, but she said no. It was only gonna be $3,000 a month, which is nothing in LA, nothing at all. And it's just sad that
wait. You know what? I'm gonna let you finish. I'm just not gonna speak on that.
Yeah. But yeah, TYT, I mean, Francesca aired all that out on her YouTube channel. But what gets me is that, you know, TYT has burned so many bridges with the left, ended friendships, can't handle criticism for, you know, being considered the, you know, the home of progressives, like the top media channel for progressives. They can't handle any criticism. Maybe it's not us that's the problem, Dan. It's them.
I will let literally everyone else on the panel speak before me. because everyone else on the panel knows what's going to happen if I start to speak. So y'all go ahead. Actually,
think of Fran's baby.
First,
think of Fran's
Sachi
baby
first. Bam as the voice of reason, and then I'm gonna cook. Okay, but go ahead.
I'll keep this brief because Daniel and Bam. Well, Bam, you'll be able to elaborate much more clearly. It's with Dan, we get to that. But I'll just say this: the continuing trend. Christina, you hit it on everything you said was just that needed to be said. But it's what I've come to realize is pattern of behavior is that's pretty interesting. As you see this kind of behavior from the main show where they claim to be anti-right wing, but employing the same tactics and it's man-child behavior, as I like to call it, but doing so, masking it as a progressive stance. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's just immature. It's creating this unnecessary, it's manufacturing this drama for clicks, I guess you could say. I don't know if we want to talk about the video that was posted on the main show, but the funny thing about it is at the end of it, Cenk is like, note to other internet hosts out there, the prize is not more subscribers. And the pinned comment in all caps is subscribe now.
Yeah.
That's
yes.
This is coming from Cryptocurrency Studios or whatever. And the point that that I'm trying to make is that it's like the Trump administration, the hypocrisy and the proof is in the pudding. It's right there for you to be like,
brag about how many subscribers they have.
Happened in the news.
Exactly. It's.
You just said it doesn't matter how many, but I'm like, you brag about all the subscribers you have. Like, Jake, shut up.
Exactly, and it's just. It's just kind of hilarious to have this. It's what I would call. It's very much. And he also said, not to go into a huge tangent, but he also said, we're have open minds and open hearts, but excuse me while I publicly trash and release someone from a contract for disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know.
Alas, more that's ironic.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, when it comes, I just think
Sachi, finish your point.
I think it just comes down to an abandonment of any sort of morals in favor of how can I make the most for me, and that's what this behavior it's really coming across as.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some of that video that Cenk was doing. I've never liked him. I always thought he was arrogant and like
hard.
Yeah, I could never like vibe with like his personality on air. And yeah, he's just really immature, and just arrogant. Like, what's the problem? Like, have somebody on there that disagrees with you, dude. You have a quote unquote network. Like, it's not like you have like one show. Like, you have a network, dude. Like, who cares? Like, be like he's going at her for not agreeing with him, but it's like you're firing her though, actually. So, yeah, and the thing actually, and Dan, I'm sure you're probably going to say this or go off on it too, but the most childish part of what he was saying to me was when she was calling him a bitch, and he's like, now if I would have said that, I'm just like, dog. So now you're like doing incel bait now too. Like,
yeah. I'm like, but she was right though. Like you were all with Dr. Phil. Like what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm like, you're really doing incel bait. Like, you're like 55 years old talking about, well, if I said that, like, is that what we're doing, dude? Like, it's just embarrassing.
Not Bam with the Google, dude. Like, not Bam with the Google. That's crazy. Because, like, I literally have to Google Cenk's age because...
is he 55? I just said that.
No, that sounds right. Honestly, like,
let's find out.
Hey, Jamie,
get the fact checkers on it.
Hey, Jamie, let me Google.
He's 55.
Is he?
He's actually 55.
Oh, that's funny. I just said that.
Damn boy!
Yeah, he just turned 55 too.
Yeah. Oh, he's an Aries. That explains a lot.
Bam from the internet, dude. Like, let's go, dude. That's insane. That is.
I just threw it out there.
It was right though.
He's a goofy 55-year-old.
Sachi, run that.
Can I just quickly speak to that thing? Bring up a great point, because again, it goes back to the TV trend. But I don't want to leave out the other person involved in this factor here. But overall, this kind of out of the blue too, in many ways, of just this need to be like, I gotta have a beer with this person who wants to literally eliminate the existence of millions of people in this country, and I gotta. It's almost like the same capitulation that Democrats have to this current administration, right? Not to tie it back again to our political climate, but it's this weird, like, nobody in the right state of mind who watches any sort of leftist or progressive media is going to be like, oh, there's somebody sitting down with Ben Shapiro or whatever, Patrick Bet David, whatever that guy's name is, and be like, oh, this guy makes sense. This is what we need in this world right now. Like, we need this openly racist guy.
Us old heads will remember Alan Keyes is Making Sense, the MSNBC show. Maybe you don't remember that because maybe I'm too much of a pervert, but like MSNBC hired a black Republican. They hired, like, I forget his name, but
Michael Steele?
Worse. Frankly, worse. You're right, but worse. Because I remember Michael Steele was like, oh, we're going to bring the urban suburban to the Republican Party. Like, that's literally his quote. But like, Alan Keyes is worse than Bam. I know you know this. The most annoying black Republican in California.
Larry Elder?
Yes. Damn boy. Larry Elder. Like, Larry Elder. It's again, like, I don't even have to elaborate. We know what we know. All right. Like, there have been a lot of these people. Alan Keyes is Making Sense. Not Larry Elder. There have been a lot of these people who like assert themselves as political heroes. It's like, oh no, we're anti.
Yeah.
God, I love the fact that like I have become Dan from the internet has become Kyle Kalinske, the person I criticize so much, but now I'm like, this is my favorite white person after Christina.
How dare? Okay, cool.
Like, like, I mean, like, yeah, this is I'm Larry Elder, bro. Like, I'm doing the Kyle Kalinske bit where I'm like, I'm Larry Elder, bro. Like, I stand up for black people in California, bro. Like, why don't you pull up your bootstraps and not, waste your time on Social Security and food stamps, bro? Like, I'm becoming the Joker because of how ridiculous black conservatives like Larry Elder are. But no, Christina, continue, and then I'm gonna, as you can tell, I'm holding a lot in. So go ahead.
I'm gonna keep stalling you. Just kidding. But
go ahead.
With all this happening, it really goes to show that there and Francesca pointed out something that I even know about Anna, is that she was very unhappy with where she was in her career, financial wise, not doing enough with TYT, blah 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 blah. Which is like, I think that's why she's so full of anger, resentment towards anyone who dare criticizes her. But Francesca is doing it right. She's principled.
Also, like, whatever. Sorry, Christina, to interrupt you. I'm genuinely sorry. Bam is gonna criticize me in the group chat later on for saying like I'm a sexist, but like, whatever salary Anna Kasparian was, being mad about was more than me and was way more than Hassan, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. I was paid more than Hassan at TYT. I got paid. I'm gonna say this full transparency. Whatever year this was, Hassan got paid $59,000 a year as salary.
Right,
I got paid $63,000. I got paid more than his nephew at TYT.
Nepo nephew. What the?
And to be honest, to deal with Hassan at that time, I deserved more. But also, Hassan deserved more. Also,
Yeah.
everyone at that company deserved more. And like, I don't know the balances of the budget. Like I'm not gonna pretend to know that, but like let's just express that. Let's just like put that out there so that we can all like actually talk about brass tacks here. All right. This is why y'all tune into Power Report. I give you numbers, I give you statistics, and I got paid $4,000 more than Hassan per year.
Now he's making 3 times that, probably 4 times that. Who knows? But
no. Hassan is like blowing my back out in terms of like making money at this point. But like, I mean, honestly, in 2020, I was cooking the dog shit out of him. But now he's doing well. But anyways,
continue.
Yeah, no. Oh, no. I thought you had I interrupted you, Christina. So I wanted to let you finish.
Exactly. So there's very few women in this space on the left. I mean, we thought Anna would be the one.
Actually, let me interrupt. No. I'm sorry. I want to be obnoxious because of
Yeah.
me being a man and you being a woman and you making.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
you're acting like Cenk and Sam Cedar right now. Just kidding. But there's very few women in this
Pause it
space
for a
that
second.
are principled. There are very few women in the space that someone like me can look up to, especially since I was friends with Anna for 10 years. I've learned a lot from her. But it's clear that this space there needs to be more women in the space. There's way too many who grifted to the right. I mean, you got Francesca, you got Emma, Crystal, for instance. There's Jessica Burbank. Like, there's very few women in the space. And I feel like all of us women need to band together and just, really help each other out and lift up each other, which is what, Emma and Francesca say all the time. It's, this space has gotten bigger with more, content creators, but it still needs more minorities and women in general, I think. But it's clear to me that TYT's whole system is old. It's outdated. That's why they're doing what they're doing. And that's why people are watching Majority Report more. They're watching Kyle Kalinske more. They're watching Crystal more. They're watching Zateo more.
I hate to be this guy. I truly hate to be this guy. But when Kyle Kalinske was deep-throating Joe Rogan, his numbers were nothing. Ever since the inauguration, Kyle Kalinsky's numbers have been stupid. Like, they've been crazy high because, you know what? I'm gonna nut up a little bit. He went on Warpath Dan. He was like, actually, fuck Joe Rogan and the plane he flew in on. Actually, right? Like, he did that. And so I think it's proven. Pay no attention to the vidIQ thing that I have on my screen. But he paid attention to the fact that, like, okay, people don't want to ride the nuts of millionaires and billionaires. They want to actually be a part of a thing. And so again, I want to speak on this really quickly. YouTube.com/Dan from the internet, YouTube.com/Dan from the internet, Dan from the intro.net. That's how we do it here. The algorithms have fucked me up, frankly. But like, I started my political project in as a fan of TYT, but also as a fan of Francesca Fiorentini. My original, Dan from the internet, old heads know, all right, but Dan from the internet started as a Facebook show. And that was at the time when, like, Facebook was, you could make a video on Facebook and it could be about, like, 7 to 10 minutes long, and it would, like, shoot through the algorithm. And as long as it pissed people off, which is, by the way, how every single meta platform works, from Facebook to Instagram to Threads, if you piss people off, that's how you go viral, which is completely...
I know it.
It's completely unconducive to politics, but, like, let me move past that, right? Like, I figured out the hack that was like, okay, piss people off and you will go viral. And then as Hassan Piker has very publicly said, I'm not sure he said this, but again, like, him and I are cool. We're fine. He built off of the thing I figured out, and he built his show, The Breakdown, on Facebook. And him and shout out to Malcolm Fleschner, who I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna just be quiet on that. All right, but like, me and Malcolm Fleschner were Hassan Piker's writers, and every time he had a viral breakdown video, it's because I made him politically woke, and Malcolm Fleschner like fixed the grammar and like spelling and all that shit, because I don't care about that. But anyways, Hassan Piker is one of my influences, but even bigger of an influence for me is Francesca Fiorentini. Her show News Broke on AJ Plus, which was a brilliant but not good enough rebranding of Al Jazeera on the internet. And that's also where Matt Lieb,
that's a love story right there.
my wife, that's where Matt Lieb and Francesca Fiorentini met, and I got to see very small glimpses of that relationship start to bloom. But anyways, Francesca Fiorentini did that show called News Broke, and I saw that on Facebook, and I saw what she was doing, and it's like, okay, trigger right wingers, get views, like win. And so that was one of the biggest influences for Dan from the Internet. Like the original Dan from the Internet project, I have videos 1 through 20. 21 will come, I promise you. But like 1 through 20, especially like once I got into college and I started doing the videos against like Milo Yiannopoulos and Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager of Prager University, PragerU, like any of those, like, look at those videos. It's literally a copy of what Francesca did. That is all to say that I obviously, as folks will watch this and know, went on a warpath against TYT last year, and I was pretty I think Bam and Christina and Sachi might say was a little bit overboard. I maybe like hit the gas.
This is why I'm on meds.
Yeah,
get that borderline personality at bay.
Christina and I are on similar meds, and I just chose not to take them. So I went hard on the paint. Okay, and so Damn
it, I got a trauma bond after this.
I've put all 3 of the other people on this show like through a lot of trauma, so I'm sorry and I apologize. But also, like, to speed this up, because I definitely need to as a host. Francesca is a core part of my political project. It's a core part of Dan from the Internet. It's a core part of why I wanted to create a show called Power Report. Who has power? Who wants power? Who needs power? It's why I brought people like Bam, an incredibly smarter person than me, and Christina, and Sachi, like brilliant brains on the left, and all the other co-hosts that I have on here. It's because I saw this. And so this week, to sum this kind of up, and as we begin the festivities here, I guess I should be semi-transparent about this, but when I crashed out against TYT in December, there were a number of people formerly affiliated with TYT who are being like, dude, tap the brakes, you're going crazy. One of those people was Bam. And another one of those people was Francesca. Francesca was like, hey, I don't know, like maybe you're kind of, being too far. I actually had some smoke for Francesca because when I decided to leave TYT in 2020, as I've talked about in other videos, she was kind of mad at me. And I was like, why? And she's like, because you're working at a bank. I'm like, yeah, I'm working for a union buster I know, not the union buster who pretends to not be a union buster. right? And I'm gonna make quadruple your salary while I'm doing it. All right. So like I'm not gonna try to brag, but I'm like, okay, I figured out the game. I'm gonna run the game. And so you know, we had it out, but Francesca has still been so gracious and so wonderful to me and so wonderful to other people that
That's the kind of person she is, you know?
She really is. She's a wonderful person. And she, you know, while I was bringing up the fact and, you know, introducing the fact that Michael Brooks's therapist was also Anna Kasparian's therapist. And apparently Anna Kasparian didn't listen to her, to that therapist, because she's been a crash out. And like I
know that for a fact.
No, like I brought that to the world because I was like, I love Christina and Bam doing like the let me get off the screen. No. I wanted to bring that to a fact because Anna Kasparian also knows I'm a survivor of self-deletion multiple times actually. And the way that she brought that up to come against me kind of turned me into the Joker a little bit.
She does that with everyone. She did it with me. She did it with Emma. She distorts a lot of those private conversations. Don't forget that.
Like she's talked about Emma and, you know, her family comes from a little bit of privilege, but, you know, like barely. Like that doesn't mean that she grew up with privilege. And she talks about Christina, like saying like, oh, you're in my DMs asking for money because Christina
I can leak all of them, but I'm a better person than that.
No. Like, it, you know, not even related to all of that, right? Like,
leak them to me.
Okay.
There's all that stuff. But anyways, I purposely, you know, I'll be honest right now. Letterhack, friend of the show, was pretty pissed with what I did on the Warpath, right? Like, he did not like me name checking him. Emma Vigland did not like me bringing up Michael Brooks and all of that stuff. Like, I pissed off a lot of my close friends in that Warpath. But like I said, Francesca was really nice to me and she was like, hey, you're probably going too hard in the paint right now. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't care. And Fran, again, given our history, given me leaving before she did, was like, you know, I'm going to take the nicest route possible with Cenk and Anna. And, you know, I know you're taking the meanest route possible, but I think that maybe if the audience sees the nicest route possible, that maybe they will see something. And I'm glad she did that. I'm so happy she did that. I'm going to start playing the clip right now, but like, I'm glad she took the nicest route possible at the same time that I was taking the meanest route possible. And so I hope that everyone watches this in seeing that there's no difference between being nice and being mean. Like, it doesn't matter. These people are dummy brain. They were broken by the 2024 election, and that's how it's going to go. Sorry, Christina, I know you want to talk, but like, and I'll let you finish after I start to play some of this. And everyone on the panel gets the old Sam Cedar abilities to
pause it for a second.
But I need to play at least some of this clip where Cenk explains why he fired Francesca from the network. And
it's stupid.
Again, I got so much more for this, but this is Cenk's explanation. I'm gonna play this. Yeah, let's run it. And let's give it at least 1 minute before Christina, you get the first pass on.
Pause it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But let's run it for a minute and then let's see what this is happening, because like, Jesus Christ. Also, everyone in chat, thank you for putting up with me for this explanation, but like, this got real for me only like an hour before the show, so we got to run this. Let's do it.
Recently, Francesca Fiorentini asked us.
Also, I'm playing it at like way too fast speed. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm
a fast talker. I'm a fast hearer.
I'm gonna do it at 1.25 because frankly, I don't like Cenk talking really slowly because he reminds me of a boomer. But anyways, let's go.
DYT to take her podcast, Habituation Room, off the network, and we happily agreed to that. And today, I'm going a little further, and I'm going to take Francesca off the network entirely. So you won't see her on any of the TYT shows going forward. So I want you guys to know why I'm doing that and how this whole situation isn't really about Francesca. It's about TYT, our community, and what we stand for. And so we're for open minds and open hearts. And so I want all of you to know that, and I want to build a community that believes in that and invites people in that believe in the same things. And by the way, if you don't believe in the same things and you say, no, I have a strict ideology and I have no open mind about that, no problem. There are tons of shows out there for you guys. So first of all, we've had some disagreements, I certainly have, with some of the far left, but I think they've been relatively small. But if you think that they've been large, no problem. So they've been around the issue of crime. Did crime rise between 2019 and 2023? Well, that's a fact, it did. But it's okay, we can have different interpretations of it, that's not an issue at all. We certainly are against police abuse and we've fought against it, I would argue, at least as much as any show on the planet and perhaps a lot more. And I take great pride that Benjamin Crump, among others, said that Trayvon Martin would not have gotten anywhere near the national coverage that he did if it wasn't for the Young Turks. So nevertheless, we can have disagreements about specific policies.
Pause it for a second.
First of all, Cenk, you are talking about being like, oh, we like diverse opinions, blah, blah. You're making a video that says, hello, we fired our most favorite, like our most popular contributor, one. And then second of all, crime is down overall. It's going up in red states, but in more like blue populated areas, it's going down. I know this. I live in a solid red area. I know this for a fact. Crime is up in these places, but overall, where people like to brag about crime being no, it's not happening in blue areas. I'm sorry. And then to again give himself all this credit for doing all these things. I'm like, dude, just stop with the ego jerk.
Trayvon Martin was a long ass time ago too. I'm sorry, Doug.
Yeah.
That's just 10 years ago, Doug.
Yeah, of course it was going to go viral. I mean, it was everywhere. It wasn't just TYT. I mean, that story was everywhere. You don't get the credit. It's like they're saying that they're responsible for Black Lives Matter happening. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
I am holding so much in, but I remember being the producer who went up to the publisher of the network, and I was like, I've got a list of videos of Cenk saying the N-word loud and proud. And he justifies it by saying, I'm just quoting rap lyrics. And I'm like, y'all need to unlist these videos 3 days ago, 3 years ago. I sent it to everyone. And that's why those videos are a little bit harder to find on the internet, because I yelled about it. And me and the other some of the other Black folks in the network yelled about it at the time. But
Dan, we want to see those videos. That's what we need to be playing right now.
People still have them.
Dan, find the I'm mad you didn't play those in the crash out of 2024. I'm mad you didn't play those.
N-word.
Well, other people were of Anna's copulations of her saying stuff like that. So it's like, ooh.
I've got more, actually. This is a long video and I need to self-censor in order to get through this. And so I want Sachi to get the pause abilities after I play some of this clip. But Sachi, you get to be the first person to interrupt this once we're playing it, all right?
Policy issues, and we do on slogans and framing, et cetera. For example, defund the police, Latinx. These are normal disagreements within any community. And I certainly would never want to shut that down because we're, again, for open minds. And of course, we've had some disagreements on the issue of transgender rights. Let me just say quickly what my position is, because a lot of people outside of the network have been misleading you about this. So I'm for 100% constitutional rights for transgender Americans because why? They're Americans, just like the rest of us, and they should have the same exact rights as us. They should be protected in bathrooms. They should definitely be allowed to serve in the military. And I happen to think that they should be allowed to play, transgender girls should be allowed to play in girls sports in high school. Now, my position on that is not overall popular in the country. I understand that, and I have a strategy for hopefully how to win on that in the long run. But I don't believe that they should be mandated to play in college and professional level. I think
I'm just gonna be like, blah blah, etc. whatever. But like,
why does he sound like Ben Shapiro? Just kidding. I know why.
No. Like, he's making this distinction between like high school and college level sports to be able to like have his cake and eat it too. Like,
there's not enough transgender athletes to make these arguments.
Yeah, like I care about rights, but also in rare cases.
I think there's like a total of, I want to say 10 transgender athletes in college sports.
In the
I
whole
think
country.
if that
I think it's a little bit more, but I also think it's still in the double digits. It's not
maybe 40. I think it's actually either 40 or 10 or between 20.
Still at a million.
Either way, there's 365 million people in this country.
It's below 100. Yes, you're
right.
But
the one thing I wanted to say, it was just also going back to the first part, is again, I keep tying it back to that man-child behavior of Donald Trump, where it's the same exact politics speak and tactics of like, well, don't listen to these people, they're misleading you. This is fake news, what they're saying. When I said it myself, everything that I've been saying in the past, ignore what I just said, because everything that you hear about outside sources is fake news, right? It's very much, it's just so easy to poke a hole in all this, and he thinks he's Teflon in that regard.
yeah, it's like the people who always flex on their ability to be unbeatable. Noted flexer of being unbeatable, Dan from the internet.
I was wondering when you were gonna say that.
Again, thank you all. Like, I'm glad I convened you all together, because yes, you will all gas me up, but you'll also be the first to shoot me down. And that's the entire reason that, like, first of all, bombs in the Middle East. But second of all, one of the reasons I started PowerPort was like, I need a group of people to like keep me in check. So we're all good. Anyways, let's run some more of this clip.
Issue is when others, among the issues is when others say only my opinion is the correct one, the moral one. Everyone who disagrees with me is unintelligent, immoral, collaborator, etc. Well, we'll get to the specifics on Francesca in a second. I'm saying that generally, and that they speak for the left. Well, let's find out if they do speak for the left. This is a little bit of Francesca, a little bit of Emma Vigeland from Majority Report, and spliced in is the actual facts about what the American people think.
Sorry, I just gotta say that, like, yes, I will admit that I was very ugly during my last crash out, but that was because I had watched Cenk insult Hassan, who I worked very closely with, Emma, who I also worked very closely with, a lot of other people who I worked very closely with, and completely disregard their opinions. Due to certain legal cases, I can't say as much as I want to right now about Cenk Uyghur's hiring decisions around Emma Vigeland, but I will, mention that we, Cenk is trying to put himself on a higher ground than he actually belongs in. Like, truly. Like, he's rewriting history in a lot of this clip, and I'm gonna play more of it so y'all can chime in. But like, I'm keeping a lot in right now.
Bite something, bite into something.
Interestingly, what Democratic voters think. First, let's watch this.
I'm a big Messi fan, but let me just
answer my question. Would you allow him, if he said I'm a woman, to play in the American women's national team?
Yes, right now. Hell yeah, are you kidding me?
Transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they
Sorry, but I just want to say, like, they're playing this clip to paint Francesca as crazy. And I always say, sorry, go ahead, Christina.
And the one thing too is, were civil rights for African Americans popular in the 50s and 60s?
Exactly.
Were gay rights popular for people in the 80s and 90s? Hell,
civil
rights were popular. No, they were not.
Thank you for bringing that up, Christina. Like, civil rights are never
playbook.
Civil rights are never popular.
Nope.
That doesn't mean you don't fight for them. Okay? Like, you have an ideology, run that ideology, don't just believe that because these things are not popular that you just abandon them. All right, like interracial marriage honestly is basically still not popular, right?
Oh God,
Right.
definitely.
Like, but like, there's rights for that shit. There's rights for you to marry whoever you want to for now in America. All right.
Mhm.
So like, I hate this argument that Cenk continuously brings up that like, ugh, sorry to do the Kyle Kulinski thing again. Like, this shows my ability to mature, but like, I'm just a populist leftist, bruh. Like, if trans rights aren't popular, bruh, then I'm not for it, bruh. Like, it doesn't matter if it's popular. It's rights. It's rights. Okay, let's continue.
It should be, in fact, allowed to.
Sorry, Ben. I want to play this a little bit more, but like, you get the first pause after this.
Participate in women's sports.
Your argument is really bad on this, and you're out of your depth. You're correct that trans women should be able to compete in women's sports, but your argument for it is just scientifically and factually incorrect. I'm actually not bad about this. I'm 100% right on this. I don't give a the scientific explanations. People, if they identify as a woman, get to compete in sports. If that's not fair in the short term for a variety of little competitions, I don't give a
And I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%.
right.
You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything.
because the societal interest of including trans people in society trumps stupid competition. Full stop. So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
You'd let Lionel Messi play in the women's national football team and destroy
Hell yeah,
women's football
welcome.
forever. You'd let
I mean,
Usain
it'd be
Bolt.
very difficult
Hang on,
to get a ticket,
hang on.
which would suck.
I want to do a little checklist here. You'd let Usain Bolt compete as a sprinter in the American women's Olympic team.
Yes.
Okay. You would
Yes.
let Floyd Mayweather compete as a boxer in the women's American boxing
Yeah.
team.
Opposing them in women's sports. You get 67% of Democrats, so 2/3 there. You get 64% of independents, so you get about 2/3 there.
So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this.
Okay, generally speaking, if you want to say that you're right about something, sure, everybody has their own opinions, and it's their opinions. That's why they think that they're right. It's another thing to say that you speak for the left. As you just saw there, 67% of Democrats have a position that is actually to the right of mine. I say that trans girls should be allowed to play in girls' sports in high school. 67% of Democrats say no, not allowed in any women's sports. So I'll work on my Democratic brothers and sisters, and I'll try to get them to my position on that. Nothing wrong with disagreements. And if Emma, Francesca, and others can convince 79% of the nation that is opposed to that to come over to that side, fantastic, happy to have it. Okay,
It's not their
so I
job to
think where
do
the
that,
issue
though.
comes in is when things get personal. So we got 3 rules, generally speaking, on air here at TYT that are relatively bright lines. So one is, and I say relative, I'll explain that in a second. One is no lying. 2 is no threats of physical violence. And number 3 is don't denigrate personally the other hosts in the network over and over and over again. And I say relatively bright lines because it should be relatively easy to follow, but I get that people have disagreements.
Pause it for a
What's a
second.
lie?
I've got thoughts, but Bam, you earned the first word. Go ahead. Bam,
Oh,
you're
you're
also on
muted me.
mute. So yeah.
I think that like what Christina, what you were saying, like how, fighting for civil rights is unpopular. I think like Cenk's opinion on this just shows that he's a bigot. And I wonder like what his mindset is behind closed doors, or if it's better now, like what it was in like 2000, like 20 years ago.
I mean,
Like,
he was. I mean,
or-
a lot of the things about him, about his past when he was Republican, did come out. The SAC
Right.
would write about women and other minority
Right.
groups, the things he would say on TYT in the early years. So,
Well, yeah, which I've heard some of the crazy stuff. And I during Dan's Warpath, I remember, I think I said this, like, I think like when Cenk was doing his whole, I'm gonna get a beer with the people, with Hitler, whatever he said. I think that he thinks he's a white guy.
yes.
And like he's trying to operate from like that space, like, oh, me and Ben Shapiro, whoever the hell, like there's nothing different about us. And it's like, dude, like have some solidarity. Like have some solidarity as a person who is like that's what we want to see from people on the left, like solidarity. When you start like leaving the left by saying like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with Hitler or whoever and have
or
a
I'm
beer.
politically homeless.
Right. Like it's like we're talking about the left. Like we're talking about like the solidarity group here. Like it's one of the principles of the left.
Yeah.
Maybe the founding principle of the left. You know, in a political sense. And he's just completely disregarded that, and it makes him. For me, it just is like maybe because you're a bigot. That's why. Like that's why you don't care.
Yeah, and you know they deem themselves the homo progressive. The homo progressives. I'm like, well, it's your responsibility to set the trend for other people on the left. You're supposed to be head of the game, which means if trans rights are unpopular, you got to still stand by them. If you think crime is if you're gonna have issues about immigration, you know better. You can bring an immigration lawyer on and to explain, because you interview people all the time, mostly right wingers now it seems. But that's why Cenk would have the conversation so he can interview people. I'm like, you could be interviewing people who are expertise in these fields to debunk the lies that you guys help spread about these issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's that controversial to say he's a bigot, because Anna is like off the rails racist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I'm afraid to talk to she literally said, I'm afraid to talk to black people, because I'm like, what the? I was like,
she said I'm afraid to talk to people that aren't white.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn, dude. Like right wingers don't even say that.
No. Like and you gotta understand, like I could have done my warpath at that. Like,
oh yeah,
as her former producer, noted black man, Dan from the internet, right? Like, Bam doesn't believe it, but noted black man, Dan from the internet, right? Like, you know, we look at the numbers and statistics, like, you know, barely, but you know, like, noted melanin Dan from the internet busted his ass, drove up all the 405 for Anna Kasparian for 3 years, 4 years, basically. Fucking 10 years, basically. At least, let's be, you know, accurate for, you know, whoever's watching. At minimum 7 years, but definitely 3 years, like 2 to 3 years, right? Like, busted my ass for her to make her sound less dumb on camera.
And now you're gone and she sounds dumb on camera.
And the thanks I get is no, sorry. Like, again, like, I hate doing this, but let me depersonalize myself. J.R. Jackson. Okay. Like, JR has known Anna for double the time I have, has worked with Anna for double the time I have. Noted black man, J.R. Jackson. And you're going to tell me that you feel some type of way about, like, you know, saying your opinions around him, around me? We did production meetings every single fucking morning. And, like, you're going to do that? Again, like, sorry, I got to run this really quickly because I have the mic right now. But Pew Research Center. About 8 in 10 Americans, and this is an article from 2023, have a positive view or say that Martin Luther King had a positive impact. But in May 1963, only 41% of Americans had a favorable view of King. If you combine the unfavorables down here, 25 plus 37, like, I'm not a math genius, but, you know, 35, 45, 55, you know, 62% of Americans in May of 1963 hated Martin Luther King. And Cenk's opinion would literally be, let's have a beer with that 63%. Let's figure out why they don't, you know, of course they hate Malcolm X. But Martin Luther King Jr. is the peace-loving guy. Like, okay, so, like, if y'all hate him and y'all definitely hate Malcolm X, well, that's where the majority of we're a populist.
You're in my seat. What is this, a sit-in? Sorry, I gotta sit at the bar and get a malt or something. Like
Cenk Uygur, I gotta stop myself, but I'm like, ideologically, the way he is speaking, and literally, I used to look up to I hate to admit it, but I've gotta say it. Like, I used to look up to this man. I told him I looked up to him when I first started working there in like 2013. And even then, he was like, don't do it. And I should have listened to him then, frankly, because the idea that he is using, well, this is popular. And you could use the same argument against niggas having rights. All right? Like, done. End of sentence. Period of discussion. Like, we're done. We're out. We're out. We're done. Period. Done. Gone. Like, that is, what are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is the left? What are you standing for? What is Justice Democrats? What is Wolfpack? Who's that?
Brianna Wu?
Yeah, Brianna. Thank you, Christina, for like literally sharing my brain cell and using most of it and like having 150 more. But like, Brianna, you're like, why are we hiring Brianna Wu for your like rebellion pack or whatever? Like, what the hell are we doing here?
Hot take. I feel like her joining TYT also started their decline because it kind of makes sense.
I mean, I will say that like she doesn't. She
doesn't add anything good.
If you're not in LA, you're really not in the TYT atmosphere, really. So like, I'm not really sure how much of Brianna Wu like really did anything, right? But that being said, like, you know, there's Ben Glebe, right? And all of these other different things that are there that are just like,
and that's what got me in trouble. And I didn't even insult Anna. I was like, it's not smart to have someone who's spewing like, you know, well, we can't say it, Ziophile propaganda on a progressive network. Because you're just gonna have streaming matches.
Sachi, you get the next ability to pause, but I want to play some more of this clip just to get us forward.
You know, are what they say about crime stats a lie or not? No, I'm not going to nitpick that. And we get into heated debates from time to time. Me and Ben Glebe in the past, me, Ben Mankiewicz, me, Michael Shore, etc. And I love those debates. And from somebody might cross the line and say something they shouldn't have, but we usually hug it out. And so I'm not nitpicking here. What we're looking for is, hey, are we all rowing generally in the same direction?
Sorry, 5 seconds, I promise. But like, I originally paused that because he said that, oh, we're TYT, we're a family. And, you know, we usually deal with these things off camera. I'm like, are you really saying this to me about Jimmy Dore? More on that later. But let's play this.
Or someone was drilling holes in the boat. And so are you doing it over and over again on purpose to try to create an issue? Or even if you're not trying to do it, you are creating an issue by constantly attacking our own. And I have applied this 2 other times, which I'll tell you about in a minute. This all started, unfortunately, when I went on Francesca's show and we had what seemed like a normal conversation and debate about this issue until it made a turn. And this is
before he plays this, can he?
I'm reminded of the book.
Yeah.
I just quickly, I've been thinking about this whole thing, and it kind of was thinking about what you said. I think before you started this video, Dan, you were saying the 2024 election broke their minds. And I think a part of this really, this is just my outsider opinion in that regard.
Sachi is the smartest person on the panel here. No offense to all my other panelists, but also to offend myself. Again, like, show does not happen without Sachi. He produces it. He thinks about the stories. He like meets me on my brain level in a way that, you know, makes sense. So like, shout out to Sachi. So anytime he self-denigrates himself, know that he is the smartest person on the show, including me. And if you think I'm smart, like multiply that times 50 and that's Sachi. So go ahead. Like,
appreciate that, Dad. Appreciate that. I was watching how effectively Joe Rogan was credited for winning Trump this election, right? I think it's coming down to Cenk and TYT being like, how can we be the Joe Rogan? Like, people are like, on Democrats are saying, we need a Joe Rogan to the left. People like Cenk is like, I've taken up that mantle. I will be the Joe Rogan of the left.
And yet Hassan is saying we don't need like more of those people. So again, like
exactly. And I think it's now all this like we're getting you know, Dr. Jordan Peterson or whoever, or all these crazies out there, and we're going to try to extend olive branches to them and build the bridge with neo-Nazis and right-wingers. It's really, I think it's Cenk really thinking like, when you watch Joe Rogan podcast and he nods like really like earnestly, he's like, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I think he really thinks he's got that kind of pull and he's aiming in that direction. And the reality is it's not working, and it's not going to work. It's going to continue to decline. But I really think that he feels like this is his moment to be like, I am the Joe Rogan left, and I'm the voice.
He is running the Gavin Newsom right now. And again, like I said on a couple previous PowerPoints ago that like Gavin Newsom and Cenk Uygur were compatriots on current TV, which is how I got into the Young Turks atmosphere. And Gavin Newsom did basically the thing he's doing right now, where he hosted a show on TV to talk to people who were giving him money or to talk to people who were influencing his politics, right? Like that. The podcast is now called This is Gavin Newsom. That is Gavin Newsom. Not a bootlicker, a boot fucker, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is too, I mean, this has maybe inconsequential, but I was looking back at the article where it said Cenk doubled down on endorsing Rick fucking Caruso for mayor of LA. Like, this guy's a multi-billionaire who said, fuck the homeless, they're evil. Essentially, it's indicative of this direction of, I think about this Tom Waits lyric from a song called God's Away on Business, and it says, I'd sell your heart to the junk band baby for $1. And I think this is exactly kind of where we're headed in with this trend, if you want to call it that.
It's a good Tom Waits lyric, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like Cenk has gone just like full media brain and like no principles.
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly what it is.
Gone. It's just like you're just looking for clout in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
and your
network's failing.
Right.
Possibly.
Yeah. I Christina, I'll give you another point and then we'll go to Bam, but I gotta get 2 more of this clip.
I'm done.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I had this muted a little bit, but let's go.
Had what seemed like started, unfortunately, when I went on Francesca's show, and we had what seemed like a normal conversation and debate about this issue until it made a turn. And this is part of the turn. Let me show you.
I'm reminded of the book by I think his name is Michael Schneider on tyranny, and he wrote it's like 20 lessons from the 20th century about authoritarianism and fascism. And one of the things that has come to mind when you say my strategy will protect us is he has this chapter, I'm gonna bring it up, the first part of it, called "Do Not Obey in Advance," and he writes, most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. In other words, you don't have to do the sort of crackdown on the left around speech because I'm going to do it for you, or you don't have to come to me.
Down. Again, you're misstating it. I'm doing the exact opposite. You're cracking down by saying, Cenk, you're out of bounds, so you should stop your stupid opinion and because you're implicating me.
I can't believe that a guy who I used to admire and who I thought had a lot of fight is trying to scratch the back of people who absolutely would never do the same for them.
So we just spent an hour and a half me explaining how I'm not scratching their back. I'm trying to get
but I can show you more clips,
to agree
man.
with us on things we believe in, and we've always believed it. And you go back to scratching their back.
At least the trains will run on time.
The train's running on time, presumably a reference to Germany. I'm the collaborator, and I'm scratching the right wing's back by having my opinion. The opinion I've always had, an opinion I've had for years, and you guys have seen for years on the show. But if you don't agree with Francesca in that particular case, and some other folks in the extreme left, well, you're not allowed to have that opinion. That is immoral by definition. And how dare you disagree with them? That makes you a right winger, a collaborator, et cetera. But if you say, hey, Cenk, look, I know that she's quoting someone, collaborating with an authoritarian government and saying that that's what you're doing and you're helping the right wing. And then she's not open to the idea of, hey, maybe there's a different strategy and a different opinion on this that gets us the same result protecting trans folks or whichever topic we're talking about. Okay, if you're not, and at that point, I certainly hadn't done anything. I think that was, I didn't appreciate that, but that's okay. We kept going, and she's been on the network since. Then she started to do more and more and more, and it got more and more personal. So after that discussion, this happened.
I like that we can both be very Mediterranean about it and get like super mad, but then rein it in and be cool, and then be like, we're like, yeah, we're just gonna yell, and then we're gonna be fine, and then we're gonna get over it. So that's the kind of beer I like to have.
Yes, thank you.
2 days later. I mean, I have my own thoughts on like why he's doing it. I think, if you think your brain was broken by the 2024 election, I think we're looking at a case where someone's brain was broken even harder.
Okay, but look, guys, if she had said that about another host, I probably would have drawn the line there. But it's about me, so I wanted to give more leeway. My brain is broken, and by the way, that's still okay.
I'm sorry, I have to stop here because I've covered this again. YouTube.com/Dan from the internet. Not to be a media whore, but like I've covered this. I used to be a producer at TYT. I worked under Cenk. I worked under Anna. I worked under, some of my favorite people on earth to this day, including J.R. Jackson, John Idarola, Ricky Strom, etc. Right? Like, shout out to Hank Thompson, shout out to all the people who are like, generally the staff of the show. Love those people. Shout out to Aaron Wysocki, the Guardians of the East, like all of those people, right? Like, but this idea that Cenk has these hard and fast rules. Again, I used to produce for Jimmy Dore, unfortunately. And I talked about this in previous videos. I made a deal I call it the deal with the devil, where there was a time where TYT was technically not owned by Cenk. He was the CEO, but as many companies work, there's a CEO and then there's a president, and the president is above the CEO. And the president was like, we're gonna have to make some cutbacks. And Cenk, to his credit, and I thank him for this, he called me and he was like, leaning me to be like, okay, you're gonna have to work a bunch of these shows for us to hire you. And I was coming out of college to like get this job. And Cenk liked me, Anna liked me, everyone there liked me. So like, that was the thing. I had produced videos for TYT. I've covered them on the show before, like whatever. He was like, what are your opinions on Jimmy Dore? And I said that like, I think he's dumb. I think he like doesn't read anything. I think he like,
and yet Cenk was like, Jimmy reads all the time.
No. Cenk didn't confirm or deny that. Again, he was subtly trying to save my ass and was like, okay, but would you deal with Jimmy if you could work with John and Anna, which at the time is what I wanted to do. And I was like, maybe that's in the cards. And it was like, okay. And the next week, a bunch of people were laid off and I wasn't. So there's that point. All right. But like, Cenk, this is to say that like Cenk intimately knows the problems with Jimmy Dore and also will talk about Jimmy Dore. And Cenk, I covered this on PowerPort before in previous videos. Like Jimmy Dore would explode on air, and it used to be aggressive progressives with Jimmy Dore and Cenk's college buddy, who used to be the chief financial officer of the company, Steve O. Yeah. Not the one from Jackass, but a different one. A way more Korean Steve O. He was the foil to Jimmy Dore, and there was one time where Jimmy was like, okay, there's like, yelling on TV. Yeah, there's yelling on TV. And then there's like TYT yelling. And then there's whatever the fuck you're doing right now. And we've got to like dial it back because you're ignoring my producer notes to be like, we usually take a break at this point and you got to do that right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we've been having this argument for a long time. Maybe dial it back. And as the host of the show, like move the fucking show on. Bam is screaming internally right now. Sashi is screaming even louder. But Jimmy was ignoring all those things. And it wasn't until I literally walked out of the control room and into the studio, different rooms. And I was just like, Y'all figure it out. Like, shut up. We're done. I control the show. You don't. We're done. And I was the one who got in trouble for that. Not Jimmy Dore. Not
Jake. Really?
Not Steve-O.
Just
like, I was the one who got in trouble for that. And again, like I to highlight how much I hate having to do this, the only person in that office who showed up for me that day was Anna Kasparian.
Because she knows.
She was yeah. No. The thing that's more public about the sexual harassment thing actually happened after this moment. But you know, I'm sure everyone else in the office knew this, but Anna's the only one with similar to Cenk power in that, and she's the only one who stood up for me. And again, it's so twisted and weird, but like even to this day, I still respect her for that because
Yep.
Cenk didn't, and he ran the company, and Anna was like, Jimmy's a weirdo. He's stupid and he's crazy and he's projecting his issues onto you, as I have done to Bam many times on the show. But like
self-awareness.
And Christina as well, but like self-awareness, right? But like Anna was the one who stood up for me in that moment. And the fact that, again, to bring it back to this, and I'm sorry to filibuster, I'm also not, but like the fact that Cenk brings up these rules when I was the one who got in trouble for making the talent angry or, making the talent upset. I'm like, dude, Jimmy Dore spat on Alex Jones. Let me remind you, Jimmy Dore
ran away. And ran away
on Alex Jones,
and rewrote the story later on.
And he ran that network like 3 years into that bitch. All right. So don't tell me with the Chiron that says TYT community values that you have standards, because no, you fucking don't. I mean, again, I just told you how much deep love and respect that I have for Anna. I know Christina to some extent in a very similar way. Like, there's a certain thing there, right? Like, but like, don't tell me that these are certain values when we've seen you give a pass to other people on your network who you perceive as more valuable in your capitalist effort to make you more money. Okay, I'm gonna run this clip again.
Okay, the first time she's getting super personal. Collaborator, maybe that's a political opinion. Now we're a broken brain, even though we were supposed to have a beer and we were supposed to hash it out and be okay afterwards, but apparently not okay afterwards. But then that was the tip of the iceberg. She continued again and again. Here's the next one.
I do think it's sad that even though they allow people like us into the fold and the fray, they refuse to learn from us.
Sorry, last shameless plug. This is Mondale Robinson also on the screen over there. During my very ugly TYT crash out of 2024 in December, one of my first interviews was with Mondale Robinson to talk about the fact about, okay, what are TYT's racial blind spots that I was, too ingratiated to see that other people were telling me the whole time existed. Anyways, Francesca.
Or listen to us. And I think that when you have been doing this work for so long and you still cannot grasp the idea of intersectionality, how race and gender and class all intertwine with one another, and how the fascist goal is to divide us based on these lines. Like, I don't know like who you are. Like, I'm not even, I don't even know if you're smart. You know what I mean? I don't even know. First of all, I don't know who your political mentors are. I don't know who you look up to. I don't know what your touchstones are. I don't know if you know your history in terms of like civil rights, women's rights, gay rights struggle in this country. I don't know anything. I call into question all of that. It sounds like you are just an opportunistic mouthpiece who wants clicks time and time again.
Okay, so obviously it's getting deeply personal there, opportunistic mouthpiece, can't grasp simple concepts, not smart. But guys, and I'm not angry. Look, people have different opinions and they want to make it.
Pause it for a second.
She's questioning it. She's questioning it, Cenk. But before I'm actually mad at all of you because None of y'all told me how many times Cenk was saying the N-word on the air, dude. Like, this dude saying that shit a lot with like reckless abandonment.
Full chest, right, man?
Like, how come I don't know this already? Like,
one thing is you're not on Twitter a lot.
I mean,
every once in a while, those videos do go
the
viral.
old Bam, you're right, but I just want to highlight the old Young Turks theme song. One of the main lyrics was, "He rates women in 5 tiers."
Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're not even like that old clips like that. Like, one of them was old or something, but I'm like, one of this is the quality's not that bad. So he's been saying it like kind of soon, like not that long ago also. So I'm actually mad at all of you. You guys are TYT people. You never told me this fool says the N-word with reckless abandonment.
Reckless abandonment, he said.
I don't say the N-word on the air. I don't do it. Like, I personally don't do it.
But if we run the Pete Hegseth real quick, then maybe you say the N-word in the group chat. I'm not saying anything.
No, in the group chat, first of all, in my personal life, I'll say it as much as I want. But on the air, we never even said it on We Made It podcast. Like that was a rule.
Yeah,
like this fool Cenk is just like saying it, just like
I haven't done this in a while, but like this is the old Power Report lyric of like "let your nuts hang." Like he's really doing it.
He like does not care. He's like using it in jokes and stuff.
I remember him quoting lyrics. He's like, "It's okay, I'm quoting lyrics. It's fine."
No, this is like him. Like he's like doing like an impression of somebody. He's not quoting somebody. He's like saying it as part of his dialogue.
Yeah.
And dropping hard R's.
Sachi, you get the next pause, but I'll continue here.
Get personal. It is what it is, right? I'm more sad about it. You know, I'll say something at the end about that. But to me, the attitude that is toxic, and that's what I don't want at TYT. I want to build a community that is really open to conversations. Is they refuse to learn from us. So the idea is, well, obviously I'm right and the only moral center of the universe.
Projection Island. I'm sorry, Sanji.
Pot called the kettle Turk.
That's all this is. I mean, that's all this has been. It's just projection the entire time.
Literally, like it's Projection Island, and this is the part where, like, I'll be honest, I get much more angry later in the video. Believe it or not, there's more, but let's run it further. But like, this is the part where I was like, oh, this is the, Projection Airlines. This is the University of Projection campus. Like, this is so insane. Let's go.
And I already told him that, and this guy wouldn't even learn from me. It's just such a deeply arrogant thought that
really quickly, Cenk is trying to say that the extreme left, the max left or whatever, the Emma Viglins, the Francesca Fiorentinis, the Lance from the Surfs, all the folks at Leftist Mafia who we low-key stream at the same time with, right? Like, Christina, like, we're the extreme left, and
whatever that is.
He is essentially trying to say that, like, the reason we're wrong is because we're not learning from Cenk. Oh my God. Whoops, could have had a V8. That's the reason I'm gonna tap the brakes for Bam's sake right now. But like, that's the reason I don't get it, right? Like, like I just, am not listening to Cenk enough. Dude, like,
trust me, we listen to him enough.
Way too much. Let's run this.
Then if someone disagrees with you, they need to be re-educated. And maybe they haven't read any books at all. Okay. Did she stop there? Of course not.
Former Republican Cenk Uygur.
Well, let me,
and yes,
I just want to make it clear that I never told Dan to pump the brakes in the warpath ever once. I said, Dan, do what you do.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact. Bam was like, foot up on the gas. Somebody got to do it. Okay.
Like, get it how you live. Who am I to tell you to stop? Hey, do your thing. So I don't want that narrative to be out there. I said, do your thing.
Sorry if I said otherwise. Also, Bam is a genius.
As I told Cenk, I do feel very implicated. I have felt implicated by their takes, specifically around crime and policing in years past, definitely by this new heel turn since Trump's reelection, and absolutely by the misrepresentation of the Los Angeles fires and who the responsibility lies on. It is enraging, to say the least.
The Los Angeles fires are not the responsibility of the mayor. They're apparently the responsibility of Republicans. I don't know. I don't know what her thought on that is, and I don't know why she's enraged by that, but that's okay. Apparently, I've taken
Rick Caruso endorser Cenk Uygur, the person who makes the Grove the most infuriating place to park in Los Angeles, which says a lot. Mind you, there's a Trader Joe's across the street from the Grove, and that Trader Joe's is easier to park at than the Grove. And to say the phrase that Trader Joe's is easy to park at is insane. Cenk Uygur endorsed that guy who makes parking worse than Trader Joe's. Mayor!
in a heel turn. By the way, all those folks, not just Francesca, but others that told you were right wing, you watch the show every single day, you see us criticizing Trump and Elon Musk over and over and over and over again, telling you how they're going to do a $4.5 trillion robbery in those tax cuts. Yesterday, we talked about how they're already, hammering Social Security and costing good Americans, what they need from Social Security, how they're going to cut $800 billion from Medicaid, how there's a series of robberies on the way, et cetera. But it's okay. Let's just simplify things and say anyone who disagrees with us a little bit is a right winger. But the good news is, at least Francesca will not be implicated anymore. And I never understood that because she's been saying this for a long time now, that she was implicated by us. Then why keep taking a check? And it's not a big check. And Francesca has had, a career before us. She talks about that. Of course she did. And she'll have a career after us. There's no problem with that. So why, if you think we're collaborators and we've taken a heel turn and we're working with fascists, why did you choose to get implicated with us all these days? But good news, no longer implicated. Believe it or not, she did not stop there. This is now another show. Watch.
So pause it for a second.
So I remember when Project 2025 was announced. I remember Anna and Cenk downplaying that agenda, which includes the things Cenk has listed that Trump and Elon were going to do. Remember that? Remember? Also, too, the reason why Francesca has stayed so long is because she's been trying to get you to realize what you're doing is wrong. She's trying to keep things going. She's trying to make, get you guys to see that.
Christina, you're so right, because I was trying to find the video and I can't. Yeah. I was trying to find the video and I can't. But Francesca posted on her Instagram that the right wing is talking about concentration camps, and Cenk Uygur is like, that's crazy talk. There's never going to be concentration camps, and literally we're sending. I wish I was being normal Dan Power Report facetious with this, because let me break character and be actually the serious person that I am in front of people. Random brown people are being rounded up in America and sent to El Salvador and other, Nicaragua and, other random crypto loving countries. Cause let's not leave that out of it. Right. But they're being just randomly sent there. Not even because they have green cards. These are citizens. Yeah. Because they end up looking, it's there's one guy who was they looked in his wallet and they looked at his passport card and whatever. It's you're straight up American. But Cenk is don't worry about it. It's
we do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
It's so infuriating. For me, it's infuriating because it's disappointing, having worked closely to these people and having believed in these people more than, I probably should have. But it is just disappointing how
they didn't even go boomers,
hard on boomers don't door. Boomers don't like when you say the word stupid. All right. But stupid, how do you pretend to, and I know Cenk's news diet very well. I used to be a producer for the Young Turks. He pretends to be a CEO part of the time and then pretends to do the news a less part of the time than he pretends to be a CEO and pretends to, do these other packs and all these other different things, right? But for you to even pretend or even cosplay as a news person and know about these things and talk about these things and not know this stuff that your co-hosts, your former producers, the people you used to look to for fucking information are telling you that you're wrong, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, Kyle Kulinski. Oh, you're just right, bro. Like, actually, I think I know what's going on, bro. Like, actually, I think it's okay, bro. Like that's stupidity. That's ignorance. That's idiocy. That's purposeful stupidity. And like, I've got no time for that.
Yeah. I remember. I mean, they weren't this hard towards Jimmy Dore when he left.
Literally. And Jimmy Dore, I didn't.
One of the worst people to come from that network and leave.
I'm tapping the brakes a lot right now, but I've never seen like. Let me be a little bit chill. Let me be a little bit messy right now. Francesca Fiorentini, of course, like used to be a host on the Damage Report and used to, do that a lot. She would also come late a lot, and she would not be responsive when she was coming late sometimes. And there's a very famous, somewhat famous episode of the Damage Report where Brett and I are hosting because Francesca was stuck in traffic because she missed her alarm. And you know what? Bam knows especially. Let he who was slept through an alarm to miss a important event cast the first stone. All right. So like, I'm not going to put too much smoke on that. But like, I think my point is that like, why are we pointing at, Francesca having a slight disagreement on these things? Or, we're saying that, we have standards of the network. We do these things at TYT. When Jimmy Dore sexually harassed Anna Kasparian.
And also...
And he kept, sorry to interrupt, but like he kept working there after that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so again, like I said that story to say that like I've had days where I've been a little bit peeved at Francesca Fiorentini. She's never sexually harassed me. I've never seen her do that to any like that's not her vibe. That's not most people's vibes at TYT. That was Jimmy Dore's, and he was still allowed to work there. So fuck off with this, like, we have standards of the network, and if you start to disparage hosts, like, and yeah, Cenk is gonna mention the Paige Shill thing in a minute here, but I'll let it run. I want to give Sachi the next ability to pause though after this.
But Cenk's line up until this point has been, no, it's at the collegiate level and above. I think once you get to the college level and above, that's when it's bad. So he would be on board with what the NCAA said recently. But you're so dumb. You're so dumb. I don't even know how to explain it to you anymore. Unless, this is the other option, unless you also are a transphobe. You know what I'm saying? Unless you also are kind of a misogynist.
Because if you disagree with Francesca or anyone on that part of the spectrum, well, you must be a misogynist.
No. Sorry. I mean, many people, like, I'm saying I'm sorry. Many people are saying I'm not. But let me just speak up right now. Previous Power Report guests, Sandy Lovas from Left the Box. Check out youtube.com/Left the Box. And Bonnie, previously going by Benny, but like Bonnie, like both of them used to work at TYT. Sandy did a debate with Cenk on The Conversation, a show I also used to produce, by the way, about non-binary things and trying to reason with this. And you can look at that video. Cenk doesn't sound great after that. So I resent this idea that, if you just don't agree with certain people, then you're just wrong. And Cenk is like, okay, well, you got to be in the club to know what's right and what's wrong. Like, Cenk is trying to paint this as you have to be a part of a certain thing. And what Sandy Lovas is like, poured her heart out on this show, frankly, like talking about was like, no, this is my experience as a non-binary person. And Cenk, I really thought you maybe didn't fully understand it because you're a cis white, cis Turkish white passing man who used to be a Republican until 2001, which is hilarious. But like, you know, I didn't expect Sandy Lovas, not to put words in her mouth, but like, I don't think she ever expected Cenk to fully understand her experience. But based on what she said to me, that like, I at least feel like you get it, right? And the way that, you know, he has just been like, fuck Bonnie's experience and what she's trying to tell me, fuck Sandy's experience and what she's trying to tell me, like, let's just, you know, if you're not listening to me, Cenk Uygur, then you're not open-minded enough and you're not leftist enough. Like, it's bullshit. Let me play some more, and because Sachi just forfeited his seat, bam, you get the next spot on the filibuster chair.
You must be collaborating with the fascists, and obviously you must be unintelligent. Now, if I had called her dumb, I wonder what her reaction would have been. My guess is nuclear, but I didn't call her that because we have a disagreement. We have a political disagreement. You don't need to make it personal. Not done yet. One last one.
What has it got you? What did it get you? When you go and share a stage with Dr. Phil, what did it get you? Nothing. You know why? Because you look like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You look like a bitch. That's what it is. Like, that's just what it comes down to. You don't look like a fighter. You don't look smart. You look like a bitch. That's just the reality. I've tried to tell it to you nicely. I've tried to tell it to you cordially. I've tried to tell it to you on your show, on my show, on every show. And so either you A, are a bitch, or B, you actually agree with the right. And I'm starting to think, in fact, I do think it's the latter.
Okay, so again, if I had called her that, that would have been a different situation, right? But look, guys, also on the policy.
Sachi, I see you shaking your head, and I want to let you go, but I'll just note that Francesca Fiorentini, for folks who don't know, she can be followed at youtube.com/FrannyFio. That's FRANFIO. And she hosts a show called The Bitchuation Room, where she very frequently calls herself a bitch. So this is a really bad place to stand from. It's a really bad argument to be like, oh,
self-deprecation.
If I called her a bitch, it'd be a problem. It's like, well, she hosts a show called The Bitchuation Room, so like I'd maybe tap the brakes on that argument.
Yeah,
but,
she wouldn't feel insulted at all.
Yeah,
she'd be like, duh, Cenk, I host a show called The Bitchuation Room.
Well, also, she didn't call him a bitch. She's saying you look like a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and Bam's trying to say, and Cenk is trying to say like, oh, if I did that to you, it would be a totally different thing. It's like the tell is the way that you see it like that. Like the way that you see it as like, oh, she called you a bitch, and not saying that you're acting like someone who was bitch made is the tell, because that shows how much you don't get. Sachi, run it.
I just want to see the page shield part. That's what I'm waiting for. That's my.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy Dore was like harassing her in her DMs one time, and I'm like, and he was still able to work on the show after that.
Good Sachi producing and also trying to go to sleep. So let's do that.
Or the strategy. When you go talk to the right wingers, first we did that, and I mainly did that, and there was a lot of blowback saying, don't ever talk to the right wing. But they won the popular vote. How are we going to win back the voters if we never talk to them? If we don't win them back, we can't ever win an election.
The people
Sorry, but really quickly, like, it's not don't talk to the right wing. It's that when you talk to the right wing, do what Sam Cedar did and fuck up the toilet. Like, literally, like, go there with the assumption that you're never going to be invited back.
I'm going to ask him
cause
how.
chaos. Just cause chaos. Like, make, like Sam Cedar did, you know, make the people who work for Tim Pool go like, oh wow, Tim Pool's kind of dumb. Like, you gotta
His
go
audience said that.
Like, if you talk to any right winger, your goal should, number one, never be invited again, and therefore, number two, to quote Cenk Uygur, snap their back and drink their spinal fluid. Like, there's no reason to want to have a beer with Charlie Kirk, a person who has perpetuated death threats to Cenk Uygur and me and Anna Kasparian and everyone who else who works at TYT.
And wants to abolish Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Literally.
And wants to taint his legacy.
Didn't Cenk get like 2% of the vote when he ran for mayor, or like less than that?
And he was a carbon bag. He wasn't even.
Depends the primary or when he ran for Congress.
Whichever election he lost,
both.
He's talking about winning elections. This guy has 2 failed political bids at an embarrassing rate, and it's just like, again, it's another example of. It's just, Christine, I think you said it earlier. It's just ego. It's an ego trip. It's like it's that's all this is. It's just ego, and it's an ego that he thinks it can't be deflated, but it's, I don't know. That's all I can say about it.
Because he acts like we're the first to do. I'm like, no, Democracy Now! Was the first to do it. You guys just got a little bit lucky, but I mean, a lot of people still watch Democracy Now! Or even even Majority Report. I mean, again, Majority Report's kicking their ass, but it's so funny when Cenk's like, we're the homo progressives. We did it first. We set the trends. I'm like, yeah, but look at you now.
It's marketing. Like, it's, I'm not going to get into it because that's my
Amy
business.
Amy Goodman was literally getting shot in Indonesia and shit. Like,
Yeah.
exactly. The hell? Yeah. She was literally getting shot and like beat up by the cops in Indonesia. The fuck?
She's like 98, and even if she catches COVID, she's still doing the headlines every morning.
Cenk got shot by 280 characters on Twitter.
Right. She was in like Western Sahara. She's in like occupied territories and shit. And Cenk is in Poly Market Studios.
Yeah. By the way, I want my money back. That's no longer our studio.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
Anyways.
And that doesn't mean the far end of MAGA. It means independents that voted for Trump and maybe some right-wing populists that voted for Trump. Now I've noticed that faction is now saying, well, I mean, of course we should talk to the right, but we should only yell at them or we should only accost them. That seems like a really productive conversation. And now I guarantee you they'll say, no, I don't mean just yell at them, but just like build coalitions, as Francesca.
No. I mean just yell at them. All right, because to the extent that there are convincible people on the right, they're only convinced by the name of the show, power. Who has it, who wants it, who needs it. They just want to be on the winning team. And if the left becomes the winning team, then all of these same like MAGA chuds will be like, yeah, sorry, Kyle Kulinski. I was always for free healthcare, bruh. Sorry, R.M. Brown. I was always for free healthcare, bruh. I was always for a universal basic income, bruh. Like they're all gonna do that. All right. So like, it's not so much fighting any particular person. It's just like, let's actually talk about what we're doing. But Sachi's favorite part is gonna come up really quickly.
Francesca said recently, apparently she's changed her mind about being a collaborator, but not with Trump voters. Well, who would it be if it wasn't Trump voters? Those are the folks on the edge of the middle of the spectrum where that we got.
Sorry, one more again. Just got to express that the winner of the past election was the couch cushion. The most people who voted in the last election were people who didn't vote in America. All right. So like, again, anytime someone says, well, Trump represents most of the country, Yabushin.
Got to bring to our side. We've got to convince them that the populist left is right. not necessarily a populist right, or parts where we agree, hey, great, let's work together on that. So who are we building coalitions with if it isn't the other side or people who voted in the other direction? And if we talk to them, what are we doing? Only screaming fascists in their face? Or are we having a human conversation? So look, this is not an attitude that I agree with. Again, there are other shows that love what she's saying. And no problem, to each his own, it's a free country. Go and love that and yell and scream and do all the things that you want to do. But do you think that after you do a joint appearance with Dr.
As if Cenk, Uyghur, and the Young Turks, which is the reason why it's such a fucking unwatchable show, which like even producing it was very hard to like produce it because it's just like so bad, is not yelling and screaming. And I know that I am speaking from a certain pedestal because that's crazy, because like I do a lot of yelling and screaming on this show, as y'all intimately know, both the people watching and the people on camera. But like the idea that TYT, the TYT main show as it's called, is above yelling and screaming, wild, like literally dumbass. Like that's where to go like
Phil or anyone else, that the very next day, all of MAGA's gonna show up and go, oh, I changed my mind. You're absolutely right. No, this is a gradual process where Americans begin to talk to one another and start to learn about each other and start, oh, that's what you mean. Oh, that's how you perceived it. And we begin to have human conversations until we understand each other. Again, if you don't wanna understand them and you don't wanna do that, plenty of other shows. So she said, I tried to tell him nicely. Did you? Did you? Because I might have missed that part. All right, guys, you get it by now. Look, there's two other times that I enforced this rule. One was when Sam Cedar was doing it.
Quick, I'm gonna be quick. Like,
don't insult my man Sam Cedar.
It's really
pause it for a second.
Why doesn't Cenk think that we know who these people are? Like, we know what they believe. We know what they're excited about and what they are voting for. Like, we know already.
Yeah,
it's not some mystery, dude. Like, we don't need. I don't need to talk to like a MAGA hat wearer to know what the hell he believes in. Like, it's pretty simple.
Go ahead, Sashi.
I just want to quickly say this entire thing feels like the ship is going down and the captain's like, well, I'm taking down everybody with me.
No, like, I've said this to Bam, and let me just say it publicly. Like, if I'm crashing out like this, take me out. Like, honestly, like, if I'm doing what Cenk is doing, that is a sign that I have gone way too far, and that like I need to be taken out before someone else does.
No. I'm just be like, no, can I get a cut?
I will say this too as a reminder to folks before Cenk talks about Sam Cedar. Aaron mentioned Cenk needs to leave Hassan's real uncle alone. Hassan started calling Sam his real uncle because of the similarities since Sam started growing facial hair. And when Sam came on Movie Night Extravaganza, I told him, like, Hassan calls you his real uncle. Do you know that, right? He's like, no, I don't know. I'm like, well, now you do. And so now Sam refers to Hassan as his nephew. So for those who wonder how that ends, it ended with me. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for making that connection, frankly, because
you were confused.
Again, like no, but like also like there have been comments about Hassan has made these comments actually on other podcasts about and again, like I also want to shout out really quickly Maytha Al Hassan, who along with a number of other people I was wondering Emma Vigland, Sam Cedar, like I didn't even know, and she was one of my favorite people to work with, and I
loved when she was on.
Shout out to Brooke Thomas. Shout out to, a number of other people who you've seen, like very strong, powerful women who are not named Anna Kasparian, who have gone through that network and they all of a sudden disappear. It's like, why do they disappear? Oh, you realize they crossed the boss. And, I think it's a perfect example of me learning male privilege in real time. For the fact that like I figured this out so late. When other people were like screaming this to me at this point. But a lot of small businesses are tin pot dictatorships. Bam. And whoever the dictator likes or doesn't like gets sacked. They get canned. They're done. And there's they can say there's a rhyme or reason, but there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason, or at least there's a fact checkable rhyme or reason. And you know, there's I just don't, you know, I believe in democratic workplaces. You know, there's a public history that I don't even need to speak about TYT fighting the idea about being a unionized workplace. And so there's a lot there. I want to play this, and whoever is not me, maybe whoever is not me who wants to pause it after this can feel free.
To Jimmy Dore, they were both in the network. Sam's show was not only in the network as part of our YouTube partner group, and that's what we were doing early on. And I was happy and thrilled with all the folks that were in it before. And then we stopped doing that since then. So God bless, no problem with that. And in terms of Sam and others leaving at that point, at different points from that network we were trying to set up. But while they were in the network, I said, Sam, you can disagree with Jimmy all you want. And in fact, I agree with you on that, on the policy you're criticizing him on. But stop doing personal insults. You're doing like personal insult after personal insult. So I talked to him about that. He wouldn't agree. He loved the personal insults. He wanted to keep going. And apparently that's a thing.
He screamed at least 80% as much as I have screamed on the show. And I brought that up to Cenk, and I got in trouble for bringing it up. Okay, so like,
weird.
That's like me banishing Bam. That's like me banishing Bam. Like literally, like that's basically it. That's just like, you know, Bam, you're not you. I'm not gonna, you know, indict you, but you know, you a major contributor to Power Report is, you know, you're off, you're gone. That's crazy.
Boycott the show if you did that.
I mean, I would boycott the show if I did that, frankly.
Yeah.
Again, like that's the point where one of you've got to
so funny.
One of you've got to JFK me if I do that.
Considering what Jimmy has said to people's faces on air, and Cenk is saying this shit, oh, come the fuck on.
That he does like it. That's what he likes to do every time, apparently. And so, okay, that's Sam. But we did enforce it before. And then, ironically,
so it's like, okay, I'm mad at Sam for using Jimmy Dore's arguments to like jujitsu him and prove why they're bullshit. But I'm not mad at Jimmy Dore for like sexually harassing allegedly more people than Anna Kasparian. And you know, generally just being a dick to the people around the office and yelling at them and like, you know, not producing a show, not listening to producers, spending half of his time on the show talking about his vacations to Italy and not like doing the fucking show that people are paying for. Like
and drinking on that allegedly.
Let he who is not sin cast the first stone, okay? But like that being said, this is the part that I started crashing out on this very, you know, in our group chats, in our Pete Hegseth, I guess we call it. Shout out to whoever coined the term Whiskeyleaks because that's hard. That's very hard for Pete Hegseth, and I love that. But no, Sachi's favorite bit is going to come up in the next couple minutes here. So let's watch it.
The second time we enforced it was against Jimmy Dore when he was doing it to Francesca, and he'd called her an effing liar. And he called her, and he said that she was a paid shill, which is a classic go-to move for Jimmy. Although he misspelled it paid chill, which sounds pretty nice. And I said, Jimmy, you can't do that. Ironically, he's the only one who actually apologized.
I love
and
Tesla.
said I won't do it again, and he apologized to Francesca. Francesca apparently thought, great, I'm allowed to do this, but no one's allowed to do it to me. Anyway, you guys get it. So I don't, like I said, I want everybody rolling in the same direction because we're trying to build something here. And why do we want to build something? Because we want.
I'm sorry, but like he talked about building things. Like we want to build something. We're building something. You've been around for 20 years, dude. What are you building? I have an old laptop that said like TYT established like 2003. I'm like, you're either building something or you're building nothing. So like, what are we doing here? It's sorry, it's a lot. Let me play some more of this, but Sachi, because we just got to your part, you get the next ability to pause it.
Our movement to be strong. We want to message to get out there. We want to win over those voters because at the bottom line in all of this is eyes on the prize. You've heard me say that year after year after year. What's the prize? The prize, by the way, note to other online hosts, is not more subscribers. The prize is passing polls, because those are the only things.
That is the thing that tickled me the most. Not the most, but quite a bit. The little reason, when he talks about trying to win over those voters, the literal reason why he wants to win over those voters is he wants to get more viewers. Like, the only reason why he's trying to go on to Ben Shapiro's podcast or freaking,
Charlie Kirk.
Charlie
It's I keep trying to make this distinction, and thank you, Sachi, for bringing this up. You're incredibly smart, of course, but like, there's Warpath Democrats and then there's loser Democrats. There's AOC and Bernie Sanders, and then there's like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. And it's kind of hilarious. I made this comparison very early on, but when I got into TYT, they were on Current TV, which was this Al Gore funded network. They went from Al Gore to Al Jazeera. It's one of my favorite jokes. But the lead in to Cenk Uygur's show was not This Is Gavin Newsom, the podcast, but a little ditty called The Gavin Newsom Show. Like, Gavin Newsom had a show in the early 2010s where he reviewed tech oligarchs all the time and was like, oh yeah, like I love fucking my friend's wife, you love fucking your friend's wife, we love tech, let's all good, like, yeah, California's awesome, yeah, like we've seen this already. And so the idea that Cenk hasn't, I'm not going to go back and earlier in the clip, but Francesca doing the whole like, your baby brain, you're kind of stupid. I'm like, I don't know what to say to you because I've seen you at your best and this is literally your worst. Like, this is such a crash out. Christina, I know you've been wanting to say some stuff, so go ahead.
Yeah, it's just everything he says is a lie. I mean, the things that we know about Cenk and how he feels about people, and the fact that he doesn't apply his own rules to himself or other people, just simply like Jimmy Dore. Again, the fact that he lasted that long at the network despite everything he did, it's just funny to me. It's like, what was the story there, But Francesca did not do anything wrong. She stayed for as long as she could because she was trying to get them to see what they were doing was wrong, that it was pointless. And I feel bad for John Iadarola because he has to play Switzerland in this whole situation, because a lot of people were wondering what he had to say. And he had to say that, it's sad, I've been trying to keep the peace, and I'm like, you need a spine. But I guess he's afraid to even speak up. He actually has a full contract there, so.
Well, I mean, I hold space for like, Cenk and Anna have a lot of power of the company. Yeah. People who are like, technical directors and audio people and editors, like, they have less power of the company. And, I hold space for the fact that, like, I don't want TYT to fail so much as that, like, I don't believe that Cenk and Anna deserve to ruin all of the, to speak in Hollywood terms, like, the back of house. Like, their ridiculous ideology in front of the camera should not cost the livelihoods of those people. Right? Like, the camera I have right now, I have, and I know how to work, and I'm looking at it right now because someone behind the camera at TYT taught me how cameras work. Right? So, like, I've got such a extreme, profound love for the people who work at that company, even more than, I've talked about my discomfort for, a lot of this moment, right? But like, that's why, like, the only reason I don't want TYT to fail is because if Cenk and Anna fail, that means that a bunch of people who have no say in what Cenk and Anna are doing are also stuck in a bad situation. And that's the only reason. And, like, that's my way of conveniently, and I'll name this. That's my way of conveniently talking around what you said about John Adirola and other folks in the network. Like, I'll say that I think they're in a tough spot where you've seen what happens to people who speak out of turn.
Yeah,
and
it's sad. It's sad.
And I just gave my diatribe about how like the only reason I don't want TYT to fail is because that means that all the people who have nothing to do with Cenk and Anna's ridiculous opinions, but the fact that they kind of carry the network in a lot of ways, like, that's going to happen. Like, I don't want TYT to fail, because if they collapse, that means that bad things happen to other people we've seen that we like. Todd Ritchie, he'll be fine.
And that's the thing too, is that the TYT views on the actual network or YouTube channel are not great. But Rashad and the Damage Report, there's times where I see TYT clips on Rashad Ritchie's YouTube channel because they're trying to give it a boost, but even then it doesn't work. They like his segments that he does for his show.
Let's run a little bit more of this, but we'll start to wind down here.
That affect our voters, our audiences, their actual lives. Let's pass paid family leave. Let's pass Medicare for all, higher wages, etc. And I hope wherever you are on the left-wing spectrum or the middle or wherever you are, I hope that you agree. And I hope that we all work together in trying to pass those bills. So please, eyes on the prize. And so look, I'm gonna show you two charts here for a reason. Some Media Matters did this chart recently. You guys, some of you might have seen it on air. And it has the right-wing shows online in red, and it has the left-wing shows online in blue, okay? What we did there, and I hope you can see it, is we put a little bit of a green circle around the TYT show. So the Young Turks is right next to Rogan. We got 12 million subscribers, one of the largest ones in the whole chart. But Rebel Headquarters is also on there. Damage Report is on there. Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie's on.
Damage Report, a show that, let me flex a little bit. I was one of the founding producers of, along with I'm Protecting the Innocent and John Adirola.
Can I just say one thing real quick? He just bragged about subscribers.
Yeah, it's very contradictory to what he said just earlier, right? I want to, but like, Damage Report, founding producer. Indisputable, nothing to do with Cenk. Like, that is all Rashad Ritchie. I've been behind the scenes with that, and again, there's a wonderful production team that works behind that, protecting the names of the innocent. But like, you're all wonderful, no hate against y'all. But Rebel HQ, do you want to know who built Rebel HQ? Emma Vigeland. Emma Vigeland is the woman who built that channel and made it what it was. Like, again, there's some other people who due to the conditions of my parole, I'm not at liberty to name right now, but there's some other people who are on Rebel HQ who like built that stuff, and please don't shout out any names right now to just like let me glide through the segment and not get in trouble. But like, there's like all this stuff. And so I think my point, and I'm gonna stop playing the clip here, but like, the reason people are angry, and I don't, for all the reasons I mentioned before, I'm giving them such good faith, but like, I'm so tired of doing it. But like, the reason people are angry is, yes, we all know this shit, all right? The biggest blue bubble on here is Trevor Noah, and the second is The Breakfast Club. And are we really gonna say that those are left-wing shows? Are you serious, dude? Are you serious? And so for you to, again, I was part of building some of that stuff in a different way. I'm proud to even be part of one of these tiny blue bubbles on the screen. I'm proud to have built that. But for you to then say, okay, Trevor Noah is to the right of me, Charlemagne the God is to the right of me, so I'm gonna leapfrog them to become one of the bigger red bubble and build an audience by betraying the rights and freedoms of the people who were TYT paying members, who even made you one of the tiny blue bubbles on this picture, right? Like, that's why we're mad. It's because you built a platform, and I've said this before many times on the show, like, you should not, this is a Tim Waltz quote too, honestly, like it's not mine, but like, you should not hoard political capital. If you have political capital, at a certain point, you got to spend it. And that might be a crash out, honestly. Like, you've got to be real about it, because otherwise, you die a hero or you live long enough to become one of the red bubbles on the screen.
Let me just say for the record, he mentioned Joe Rogan first. That's who he wants to be. This is what it's all about.
And you said that.
This is his
so
race for
predictable.
mankind. This is what it's all about.
Dan, how long until we get a Cenk why I left the left? How long?
I mean, we've already got one from Anna, technically. I'm waiting for Cenk's.
Yo, I hate the way you jujitsu'd me by using my own punchline setup, Bam, for this question. That's really good. That's Bam, you are in rare form right now. Let me tell you, right? Like, that's really good. To your question of how long until we get a Cenk why I left the left, at the risk of being too optimistic, 2027.
Ooh,
but you know,
okay.
I say that knowing full well, because I'm not a gambling man and I have many vices, and thank God gambling is not one of them. But I know fully well it's gonna happen before 2027. It's gonna happen before December 31st, 2027. You're gonna see him on like a, sorry, let me do full mass real quick. Sorry. It's gonna be oh no. Yeah, it's gonna be me looking straight at the camera going, "Hi, I'm Cenk Uygur, and I used to be a progressive, and I used to believe in all these other different things, but then I realized that there are certain things I didn't believe in, like, maybe men shouldn't be allowed to dunk on people in women's basketball. And, my co-host was saying some things about, being too uncomfortable about diversity, equity, inclusion, and, disabilities, and also, rights for veterans. And once I listened to that, I was like, fuck the blacks." I'm not. That's a little. That's like 30% unfair. But also, again, like
it was all proof.
I had to be the person to tell the publisher at TYT to unpublish the videos where Cenk is saying the N-word, and so
we do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
Well, they are published on YouTube.
All that being said, it's gonna happen before December 31st, 2027. And the only reason I'm putting that date down in wax is the last shred of respect I have for Cenk. Because I think it's gonna be sooner. If I were a gambler, I would say this year, no contest. But the last shred of respect I have for Cenk is like, he'll be slower to get there.
I got a hot take for this.
Damn it, boy, let's go.
I don't think he's gonna ever do it. I think he's gonna keep on insisting that he is the left, and he is. This is him. He's
the real progressives.
Exactly. He said it in this video. It's like 3 different times. You have to learn from me. I paved the way. I did this. I think he's going to keep going and going and going and going and going and going until he's out there like fucking Mad Max going around in the apocalypse.
And the fact that there's still like TYT dead enders who will defend them on Twitter. Not going to name their names, obviously, but like they're saying Francesca's being spoiled and entitled, and I'm like, and I kept thinking to myself, and I quote tweeted one of them because I was like, fuck this shit. Let me go nuclear a little. And a lot of people agree with me. I'm like, it's like a leftist policy is to just befriend Nazi sympathizers and hang out with them, thinking that that they can be changed or whatever the hell. Like, come on. I thought TYT's always was smarter than this, but apparently they're not.
Not to put Francesca on blast, but like, do you think she lives in a house the size of Hassan's? Do you think her and her podcaster husband, shout out Matt Lieb, love you, friend of the show. Yep. You think they're living in a house the size of Hassan's in the area that Hassan lived in? And again, like don't come at me. I used to live in Hassan's neighborhood, so like I was thugging it out like that for a minute, okay? But
with the great internet too, compared to him. That's so funny.
It used to be so funny. Like I literally lived 3 blocks away from Hassan, but I had massively better internet for a streamer than he did, and he would always complain about his internet. And I'm like, dude, you're rich. Just like move down the street. Just like, I don't know, man. Sucks to suck at this point. But no. Anyways, again, love you, Hassan, but also will always grief that man because as a producer, again, Sachi, this should hopefully be the relationship you have with me, is that you should be on my ass so hard and you should constantly be harassing me for all
That's it. Wrap it up. We're done. We go to bed, everybody.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, actually.
I'm East Coast, but I don't care.
No,
a few more hours.
No. You, Christina, and you, Sachi, are both the East Coast heads, and that's
so am I.
No. Bam's in Australia right now, so he's all good. Anyways, you can see it right by his nicely framed head. Anyways, this has been your power report. I'm so happy and glad you've all been here. I'm sorry to not address some of the comments. I'm sorry to not go a little bit more into Pete Hegseth thing, but there was so much to run on that I just I couldn't do it. I just had to blow off on that. But literally, Christina, you're the most public person on here, honestly, even more than me at this point. So please check out Christina at Cosmopolitics, as you see on the screen, on Twitch. Are you on YouTube?
Well, there's a thing that I'm working on potentially. Okay. I don't know if you know about it, but I'll tell it. But it's something big that's coming up. Don't know much about it, but I'll let you know what it is.
Please test me about that.
Yeah, and also too, Movie Night Extravaganza. Conan is on tour for a bit, so it's just me and Forrest holding it down with a few guest hosts. We're gonna be going over Bombshell. We're gonna have Rob McCone on to talk about his movie that he did.
Left at Wall. I saw that actually. Yeah. It's very good, and we had Ron on the show, and I'm gonna tap the brakes and be nice.
He has good sense of humor.
No, wonderful person, truly great human being. Honestly, in a very Bam way, has talked me down off the ledge in a couple of moments, in a really good, man-to-man kind of way that I really appreciate. But also, if you watch Left at Wall, and also us featuring some other lefty people you'll see in there, but if you watch Left at Wall and you liked the conversation that we had about certain lefty political figures, you might see some similarities. I'm just saying, you might see some similarities. And you also might notice that if you Google him enough, you might see him on certain shows that we have mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, too, we're going to be going over the Fox News with Bombshell with Julie Linger of React. She's awesome. I met her. She's a Jubilee gal, too. I know way too many people. And then we're going to do The Matrix with Ravana.
Yes. Ravana and I are also doing the Severance series on AudioFace, where we're talking about that show. She's pretty busy, but we also have season 1 to go through, and we also have
she has a real
some guests I want to talk to. And I'm Christina. You better join me hand in hand in absolute Mortal Kombat if Tramell Tillman does not win an Emmy for Best Supporting Actor, because that's insane.
Boy,
that's insane. Dude, I've never Bam. I will pay for your Apple TV. You need to watch this black man act. It's insane.
She's
Bam's
I'll get there at some point.
Bam's you're being racist, singling me out as the only black man on the podcast. But anyways, Sachi does not want to be found, but you can find him at Sportello 2025 on Blue Sky, as long as he doesn't forget that password. Dude,
I'm permanently logged into that one. Don't worry. I'm set.
You know, LastPass and 1Password have had some leaks recently, so you know, just use one of those password managers. I think Apple has one. See also Apple TV. But yeah, thank you all for listening and watching. The power is always within. Actually, let me stave off the show for another 20 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. The power is always within you. Sorry, I don't have the time to like stream to another, you know, raid or another whatever. But yeah. Cheers, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
I love Tesla.